I would like to advise all those present that notice of this regular meeting of January 22nd, 2025 has been provided to the public in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey. Notice of time and place of this meeting has been included in the annual notice of meetings, which was posted and filed with the city clerk and with the Jersey Journal and the Star Ledger. An additional notice of time and place was posted and filed with the city clerk and was forwarded to the Jersey Journal and Star Ledger on January 16th, 2025. The regular meeting of the Municipal Council of the City of Bayonne is now in session. Ms. Medina, please call the roll.
Mr. Booker?
Here.
Mr. Carroll?
Here.
Mr. Perez?
Here.
Ms. Weimer?
Here.
Mr. La Palusa?
Here, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Our first item is a resolution ratifying and affirming the actions of the Municipal Council, amending the annual meeting schedule for calendar year 2025 to change the council caucus and regular meetings of the January, February, and March meeting. It's moved by Councilmember Perez. Mr. Carroll, will you second?
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
01 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 37, Historic Preservation, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held November 13th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at the meeting of December 18th, and was postponed to this meeting of January 22nd, 2025, is now before the council for its consideration and the public hearing. And the resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by the council president. Ms. Weimer, will you second?
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 37, Historic Preservation. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Please raise your hand. We'll do it by hands, and we'll try and be as orderly as possible. Just please state your name and address when you come up, please.
Thank you. Adam Fiella from the law firm of Sills, Cummins & Gross. We represent Blessed Miriam Teresa Demjanovich Parish, the property owner of St. Andrew the Apostle Church, located at 125 Broadway, 10 West 4th Street, Block 355, Lot 10. And as we had spoken off the record, we respectfully request that we be permitted to explain our objections to the historic designation at the end of the public comments, if that pleases the council, if that's okay.
I'll grant you that, Will. Yeah.
Thank you.
But the council will make comments after you.
Understood. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Patrick Costello, 128 West 8th Street, and I have the pleasure of serving as one of the trustees for the parish. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to speak with you this evening regarding St. Andrew's Church. Delighted to connect with you despite the cold. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to have input on your decision. Let me start by saying, if this ordinance adopted, three things will undoubtedly happen. The first, some will leave here tonight with the false hope that a developer will either restore or save St. Andrew's Church. Not going to happen. By adopting this ordinance, the City Council continues, or shall I say, picks at the scab of a wound that our parish is trying to heal from. Third, it will result in unnecessary and expensive litigation for our parish and the city as well. The city does not need to adopt this ordinance. It already has the power to control the destiny of St. Andrew's Church through its zoning and planning commission. 125 Broadway is zoned as a church. the sale and the transfer of that property can only be achieved by the approval of these departments. Hence, the city has the hammer to come down on any of our plans. Now, I have served as a trustee for the past 6 years. In that time, 2 contracts to sell the school property. When there was real optimism for restoring St. Andrew's Church, the buyers were unable to close because they couldn't get the first base with the city, either in planning or zoning. Now, I listened to Mr. Carroll and Mr. LaPalooza speak at the Historical Commission meeting. They blamed the Archdiocese for St. Andrew's closing. I respectfully disagree with their comments and their opinions of the Archdiocese from that night, and I need to explain to you briefly how the closing of St. Andrew's came about, since neither of you were at any of those meetings. Now, I spent the better part of the last year in meetings with Cardinal Tobin, his leadership council, construction officials, our finance committee, and members of our parish. The Archdiocese is not to blame for the declining enrollment at our 2 worship sites. Not a single member of our parish has come to me and disagreed that we are much smaller in number than we were 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Our parish, not the Archdiocese, is responsible for our financial dealings. We do not possess the magic pen that the city has when it has a budget issue or expenses have to be met by raising taxes.
I'd like to see that magic pen, because I haven't found it yet, so.
Well, my bill went up $500 last year.
That's what you consider the magic pen?
How many thousand homes are there?
All right, I don't want to go back and forth.
Sorry.
That's all right.
After reviewing the condition and cost associated with restoring St. Andrew's Church, our finances, and more importantly, the declining attendance, we decided to proceed with the closing of 1 worship site. Now, on September 22nd, Cardinal Tobin symbolically closed the doors of St. Andrew's Church. I doubt those doors will ever open again. As a member of the parish for over 30 years, it was heartbreaking to take part in that. That decision had to be made, and it was the right one. All are welcome at the parish. We are fortunate to have the city's only remaining Catholic grammar school. The future of our parish and the church requires us to support the school. Some in this room will disagree with me, and some will not be able to accept it. But you cannot have a Catholic grammar school without a church. It's unconscionable that any member of this city council would vote tonight to cause any economic harm on our parish. The parish will not spend its resources on maintaining the building, and I doubt the city will contribute anything to the maintenance. The church doors of St. Andrew's are closed. The walls are crumbling. The stained glass windows that the Historical Commission cited as their rationale for the meeting, for this meeting, can only be viewed from inside a sealed-off church. Until it is sold, the chapel will serve as our food pantry. Fences will eventually go up because the sales process will be delayed and delayed. Then the stained glass windows will be broken because that's what happens when fences go up. The only ones who will benefit from tonight will be the attorneys. The parish has retained counsel to protect itself from the unknown. The city will no longer hire outside counsel to represent itself in the coming for unnecessary litigation, should this be adopted. All this is too late in the life of St. Andrew's Church. What is the parish matter needs to be settled as a parish matter. Now, I believe that each council member has the best interest of our city and tonight, more importantly, our parish. Please do not be conned by those who post erratic, self-serving social media messages and are more concerned about themselves than the future of the parish. I trust we will conclude that the historical designation for St. Andrew's Church is unnecessary and will do the right thing no matter what is said or posted on the web, so we, as a parish, can move forward and continue to heal. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
Anybody else like to make comment? You'll go next. Okay.
I'm sorry, I called.
No, it's okay. Please state your name and address.
Sure, Lenny Lopez, 114 Newman Avenue. First thing I want to do, I don't know if there's any representative from the Historical Society here, but on behalf of myself, the parishioners that are here tonight, and over 240 parishioners that have signed the mandate, which we have sent to the Vatican, and we are still in the process that St. Andrew's may still be open. I want to thank them, and especially for our founding generations that were here in the 1920s, that worked so hard, diligently, to get the funds to build St. Andrew's Church. This is an honor for us. It's more of an honor for them, and it's an honor that should be shared by everybody in the BMT parish, not just St. Andrews. This is an honor for us as a parish. Unfortunately, it seems it's only the St. Andrews people and the St. Mary's people look at this as some kind of detriment that's going to cause them some kind of financial problems. That I just can't buy. Once again, I want to thank the Preservation Society. The St. Andrews building, it fits all the requirements. It fits the requirements of the architecture, the significance, the integrity, and the importance of its location. In terms of the financial situation, it's very, very hard for me and everybody else that I'm associated with to buy the fact that it's going to cause some kind of problem. They received $5.1 million from the sale of the school, from the sale of the convent. They're down to 3.8 because they put $1 million into the rectory at St. Mary's. You could still get $2 to $3 million for the rectory property. You could still get another $2 to $3 million for the church. That comes out to maybe close to $8, $9, $10 million, depending on who buys the properties. And they get 100% of the collections. It's no longer our money, we need to St. Andrews. They've been doing this for over a year. To say it's a financial burden, I really think the word bankrupt is just a scare tactic, that it's a term that's thrown out there like, we're going to go bankrupt if we don't sell St. Andrews. In my opinion, the reason why there's a financial problem is because of the leadership. They never opened up the steering committee, the pastor. They never opened up to say, who else would like to serve on this? If we work together, we may not have been in this situation. But right from the beginning, I remember the first meeting that we had at St. Mary's. We were promised, and I believe the father's here, Father Gaff, he promised open dialogue. We're going to have a true conversation. This is going to be a series of meetings that we want everybody to get together. And we all sat there like ladies and gentlemen for 45 minutes. We listened to the presentation. At the end of the presentation, I raised my hand, and as soon as he seen my hand, it was, oh, we're not taking any questions. I said to myself, oh, brother, here we go. The typical Catholic school, you're going to listen to us, we're not going to listen to you. And I'm sorry about that. I don't see a financial burden. I don't see how the building itself, fitting the criteria that has been set by the Historic Society has any kind of bearing to the financial situation of St. Mary's. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you do the right thing and follow the guidelines, follow the recommendations of the Preservation Society.
Gentleman in the back.
Wayne Shivers, 14 George Street. I'm a third-generation parishioner of St. Andrews. I just wanted to talk little bit about why I think that St. Andrews should be preserved. This get-together is about a landmark, and I always thought, growing up, we're a few blocks from St. Andrews, a true landmark was St. Andrews because that was the centerpiece of downtown. People used to base where they were going from St. Andrews. That makes it a landmark. I live on George Street. People would say from uptown. They own their whole lives. George Street, where's that? I would have to say, you go down to St. Andrews, and then you go left for 2 blocks and left again, and you're there. I never had to explain to them how to get to St. Andrews. I just said, you go to St. Andrews, that's the landmark. Let's talk about the building. The stained glass is spectacular. Even if you don't have an artistic bone in your body, when you look at that stained glass, you know that that's special. Unbelievable stuff. Looks like St. Andrews in France. Only even more enhanced is the front facade. The circular stained glass on our parish looks even better than the one, which is the circular one in France that it was based off. Let's just say this in our church, there's not a bad seat in the house. If you go into the other churches, St. Vinny's, St. Henry's, Mont Carmel, there are pillars that are there that if you get squeezed out, you don't get to see everything. You get blocked off. St. Andrews is freestanding on its own. It's unique. It has a unique design. There are no obscured views or anything like that. The place where we go to worship needs to be preserved. I hope you all decide in that way, and thank you for your time.
Would anybody else like to comment? Please raise your hand. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. My name is Deborah Larstana, and I live at 112 Broadway. I just want to say I've been a parishioner at St. Andrews for 40 years. Of course, I'm upset that the church closed. Now, all these people are talking about these stained glass windows. I live directly across the street from St. Andrews. You cannot appreciate those windows at this point. You can't see, of course you can see the outside, but they're all darkened and blackened because there's no light. You only see those stained glass windows when there's light from the inside. Otherwise, there's nothing to see. The outside of the building, in spots, I'm sure it's a little decrepit and leaking coming through, but there is no way that if we had the money, or not me, you know, if the parish had the money to make the repairs on the church, they would have done that. And I just don't see how, I mean, of course, it's an old church. It's a building. Yes, it's a church and will always be a church, but it's a building. People can worship wherever they go to another church. God will always be there for them. But unfortunately, St. Andrews needed to close because of the finances or the money that it would have taken to repair the inside of the church, regardless of the stained glass windows being of museum quality. It just doesn't make sense to me to spend all that kind of money on something that was probably going to close down the line. So it's, and the people talking about all the money that they get, that the church gets now. I mean, if they spent the money on St. Andrews, there wouldn't be anything left because the amount of money that it would have taken to repair that church. And, you know, I'm sorry to say, but some of these people that used to go to St. Andrews, they don't even go to church. I mean, they don't come to St. Mary's, and I'm there every single day and on the weekends, and I don't see the people that used to come during Mass at 9 o'clock. You don't see their faces at all. And these are the people that have the most to say, but don't even come to the church and to support the church. So, you know, I think it's pathetic. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
No picture. My name is Bob Russo. I live on Linnet Street. I've been a member of the parish of Blessed Mary and Teresa Parish now, but St. Mary's for over 50 years. And I would just like to correct, or not correct, but to add to something that the white-haired gentleman, I missed his name, said. At that first meeting, at the meeting that he spoke of, where he said he was not able to ask any questions, he's correct. That meeting was billed as informational. And there was a presentation at that meeting as to what the building needed down at St. Andrews in terms of repair and maintenance and estimates of what it may cost. Several weeks later, I don't remember exactly how many weeks, but several weeks later, there was a meeting where many people attended that meeting. I didn't count, but the auditorium in the school was pretty full, and everyone at that meeting had an opportunity, including that gentleman, to say and speak up as to what had been done. So I just wanted to pass that along so that you don't think that it was just the parish, the pastor, and the diocese just offhandedly dismissed people. It was not the case. My other point is that churches have closed in the past in this city. The example I want to give you is St. Joseph's. St. Joseph's closed. There was no historical society that I can remember that got involved in that. After St. Joseph's closed, that property was sold. There are two multi-occupancy buildings put up on that property, along with a school. So I guess it is a difficult and emotional issue. There's no question about that. And I feel bad for all those people who are hurt and upset at the closing of this. But we have to understand the finances of what goes on. And it would be a burden on the rest of the parish if we had to fix that and restore it to its original site, which would mean putting the tower in the front or the bells, the church bells, back up in the front, because years ago they were taken down because they were about ready to collapse. That's my understanding of it. As I said, I've been a member of St. Mary's for the longest time. But I just wanted to pass that along. It's been said things were done in the dark. Nothing's been done in the dark. Everything has been out in the open and above board. Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? This young lady in the...
My name is Lydia Oliveira. My address is 81 Trask Avenue. I'll be very brief. It is good to have the church preserved because it's beautiful, because of this, because of that. But the thing is, the parish does not have money. The archdiocese is not going to pay, and it doesn't have the fund allocated to pay for the maintenance or whatever expense will be incurred now to start with the preservation process and going forward. The parish itself do not have the funds to pay for those expenses because the collections for St. Mary's, you have to remember, the parish is made up of St. Andrew's and St. Mary's. Now St. Andrew's closed, so we have St. Mary's, right? The people from St. Andrew's, as one of the people said, did not move to St. Mary's. In other words, they don't go. Ergo, no collections. Whatever bit they gave before is gone. I'm not saying that everybody did not go, but most of them don't. They probably went to another parish, etc. But the point is, whatever collections that the parish, St. Mary's, have is made to pay its expenses, and it's not even enough. That's why we have the collections, also the annual appeal, and we're relying that if people give to the annual appeal, then a certain portion, blah, blah, blah. So that's all I have to say. It is nice to have St. Andrew preserved, beautiful and all, but the archdiocese will not pay the bill, the parish will not pay the bill, nobody will pay the bill because there's no money at all. Thank you.
Yes, Steve.
Nancy Kopaz, 114 Newman Avenue. Good evening. We are here tonight to discuss why it is important to honor and preserve historic places, like a 100-year-old church building. According to savingplaces.org, which is the website of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, historic buildings represent the stories, the people, the events that shaped a community, acting as a tangible record of our past. In a world that's constantly changing, our places provide people with a sense of being part of a continuum. In honoring preserving the St. Andrew's Church building, we are also honoring the people who built it, worshiped there, and we are honoring the beloved first pastor, an illustrious citizen who is buried in the front yard. You see, when Monsignor Charles Doyle died in 1944, a former commander of the Bayonne Post 195 said Monsignor Doyle's many works of charity through the blackest days of the Depression will be known only to the recipients of his charity. The families that were kept intact by his own personal sacrifices and his aid to the poor of Bayonne, regardless of race and creed, will be known only to God. I would like to make it clear that although I am a lifetime member of St. Andrew's Church and BMT Parish, the pastor's attorney does not represent me, and many people in the room here. The muddled dialogue tonight stems back to a town hall meeting run by the Archdiocese in April of last year. The 200 parishioners who attended were told they could not speak or ask questions. This wall of silence has created an atmosphere of us versus them. You see, the people who are complaining about their rights being ignored are the same people who watched in silence when our moral rights, our spiritual rights, and even our right under canon law to seek recourse was ignored. They have been led to believe that only their history is important. Only their history deserves to be remembered. History has taught us that is a very dangerous way of thinking. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else want to speak? Mr. Ryan?
Good evening, Council. I'm Joe Ryan. For the last 26 years, I've been the staff person of the Bayonne Historic Preservation Commission. And I just wanted to respond to some things that people have said this evening. There are actually more reasons than the stained glass for preserving the church. They're spelled out in the ordinance. It's the glass, it's the architecture, it's the historical associations that the church has. I agree with my friend Pat Costello that the city does have the power of zoning ordinances. And indeed, a historic preservation ordinance is a zoning ordinance. So the city does have the opportunity to use its zoning power tonight for the church's preservation if it so chooses. A number of people mentioned the Historic Preservation Commission and the Historical Society. I just wanted to point out the Historical Society is a private club. The Bayonne Historic Preservation Commission is a municipal body that advises the zoning board and the planning board. Now, the criteria that are used for historic preservation are set by municipal ordinance, and they're cited in the ordinance that's up for the council's consideration tonight. Now, there was some discussion this evening. People said that there wasn't any reaction when other buildings in Bayonne of historical significance have closed. In some cases, unfortunately, that's true. I will point out the city of Bayonne did intervene to save the bells from St. Joseph's Church. And if you're interested in seeing one of the bells that the city preserved, you can look at it in the lobby. And there are other bells that were put in the bell tower in the park up the street here, Fitzpatrick Park. So the city did play a role in salvaging what it could from St. Joseph's Church. One of the speakers tonight said that if this ordinance passes, there'd be a requirement to restore the church's towers. That is not part of the ordinance. There's no requirement to do that. A lot of people have mentioned the money issue. Now, the possibility does exist. There could be a different owner in the future who might have different finances from the Archdiocese. I would point out that in London, near the Houses of Parliament, there's a former church, St. John's Church, that was closed as a church. The upper part of it was turned into a concert hall. The lower part of it was turned into a restaurant. So people should think outside the box. There may be other possibilities for the future of the St. Andrew's Church building. It could be used for a variety of purposes, whether by the church or by a different owner in the future. I think there are a number of great possibilities here for the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Fiallo?
Thank you. So again, Adam Fiella, for the record, from the law firm of Sills, Cummins & Gross. We represent the Blessed Miriam Parish. We had previously objected to the historic designation at the October 22nd Historical Preservation Commission meeting and the December 10th Planning Board meeting. We also submitted a formal protest letter to the City Council dated January 16th that I hope the Council had a chance to receive and review. So we're here today to reiterate our objections on procedural, substantive, and constitutional grounds, which I am going to explain in more depth. But first, Father Philip Sanders would like to address the council and talk about a little bit about the background of some of the different things that said.
I don't mind, Father Phil, but you could have raised your hand. I promise.
Oh, I thought
you
we
would
were,
go-
since we were together, I
You
thought
would go last. So if he's going, is he going last or you're going last?
he's going to speak and then I'm going to speak after him.
Because you, as an attorney, should know that you should be specific when you speak to me, since this is my council chambers and my council here that has to listen to that.
My apologies for not being specific about that, but it's going to be him and then myself.
Okay.
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Father Philip Sanders, and I'm the pastor of Blessed Miriam Teresa Parish, and I've served its parishioners and the local community for about the last 11 years. During the city's public meetings on whether to declare St. Andrew Church a historic landmark, many things have been said, some true and some false. So I'd like to take this opportunity to briefly address those remarks and remind people why the church was closed, and ask you, the members of this council, to seriously consider the potentially crippling effect your decision would have on the Catholic citizens of this city who worship at Blessed Miriam Teresa Parish. I'd like to begin by talking briefly about the corporate structure and how the decision before you directly affects the parish, not the Archdiocese of Newark. Some mistakenly believe that the Archdiocese is responsible for the finances of the parish. That is simply not true. Each parish has its own independent corporation. In other words, every parish is sort of like an independent small business. That means each parish, through the financial support of their parishioners, needs to, 1, meet their daily operating expenses, and 2, pay for the necessary capital improvements. Notice that both of those conditions must be met, not just one or the other. At least since 2000, when St. Andrew and St. Mary were separate parishes, neither parish was meeting those financial requirements. By 2013, neither was a viable independent parish. St. Andrew did not have enough revenue to begin paying off their tremendous debt to the Archdiocese, let alone make capital repairs. Though St. Mary had no debt at the time, they were unable to meet their daily operating expenses. St. Mary was depleting their savings just to pay the daily bills. So in an effort to secure ministry to the Catholics of southern Bayonne, the two parishes were merged in 2016 to form the Blessed Miriam Teresa Parish. The hope was that serving a combined community with one staff and lower operating expenses would be financially a viable solution. And for several years, that strategy had worked. But since the pandemic hit, BMT has started to run an annual deficit. So for the fiscal year ending June 2024, just this past June, the deficit was, based on daily operating expenses, was $12,000. This fiscal year's projected deficit is $45,000. Very simply, the parish today is unable to pay the bills. It only stands to reason that if there is insufficient funds to pay the bills every year, there is certainly insufficient income for much-needed capital improvements. When I became responsible for the parish in 2019, just before the pandemic, I anticipated that the Board of Education would finally close on the sale of St. Andrew's School and Convent, and I began to make plans to complete the badly needed repairs and improvements to St. Andrew and St. Mary churches. And so we hired an outside firm to complete facility condition assessments, or FCAs, on the properties. An FCA estimates the cost of the needed repairs and suggests how soon such repairs should be completed. The FCA is a budgeting tool for making capital improvements. The FCAs completed in May of 2022 estimated that the necessary repairs for St. Andrew would cost a minimum of $3.5 million. The estimate is so high in part because no work had been done on the building since the early 1980s. At the same time, that estimate is too low because it underestimated the window repairs by about $1 million, and because the FCA didn't anticipate the complete collapse of the heating system last January or the needed enhancements. And so when accounting for those gaps, it was estimated that the church alone would need $5.4 million worth of work. The actual total amount may be higher due to increased costs of labor and materials for the improvements analyzed in the FCA since May of 2022. Now, at the same time, the FCA estimated the need to repair at St. Mary's to cost just less than $1 million. Again, that underestimated the cost of repairs because it didn't include repairs to the collapsed underground drainage system, the need to air condition the church, repairs to a cross that's leaning, which needs structural repairs, and the need to convert the lower church into a meeting space. And so when accounting for those items, it's estimated that the work for St. Mary totals at least $2.1 million. Together, the necessary capital improvements for the two churches is $7.5 million. The sale of the school and convent did, indeed, close in March of 2022. While the Board of Ed paid about $6.5 million for the properties, the parish received $5.75 million. The other $750,000 was paid to Claremont Realty, the original buyer. Then, after paying off the parish debts owed to the Archdiocese, the parish was left with net proceeds of about $4.1 million. We came to the stark realization that the parish was faced with $7.5 million worth of needed work for two churches and only $4.1 million at its disposal. And on top of that, the parish was not able to pay the bills. So once I presented the gravity of the situation to the parish and finance councils, they requested the formation of a larger group of parishioners to discuss the problem. After months of consultation, and let me just make an addition there, the majority of people in that committee, the majority were from St. Andrews. After months of consultation with the Archdiocese and parishioners, including two at-large public meetings, a decision was made that it was in the best interest of the parish to close St. Andrews. And Mr. LaPalooza and Mr. Carroll, you will recall, everybody had an opportunity to ask questions, even at the first meeting. They weren't answered then. They were collected and answered at the second meeting. It was a horribly painful decision for everyone, and it was driven primarily by the dramatic decline in mass attendance and the corresponding decline in revenue, as well as the overwhelming cost of needed repairs. As an illustration of the challenges we were facing, I distinctly remember showing the parishioners a photo I took from St. Andrew Choir Loft. And again, Mr. LaPalooza and Mr. Carroll, you were there at this meeting. From the choir loft at the 4 p.m. Christmas Eve Mass in 2023. That was just over a year ago. When they saw the photo, there was an audible gasp from the parishioners because the church was half empty compared to the standing room only masses we were used to before COVID. This is the sad reality that exists today. I have heard some say that the proceeds from the sale of the convent and school should have been used to repair St. Andrews. However, the projected cost just to repair St. Andrew, again about $5.4 million, was much greater than the $4.1 million available. Even had it been possible to repair the building, the parish's annual revenue is insufficient to maintain the church. And that's the precise point. As I said at the beginning, a parish must be able to pay their daily operating expenses and make capital repairs to its property. Finally, there is always great sadness, anger, and bitterness when a parish or a church closes. That is understandable. But sometimes those sentiments are directed towards the cardinal and or the pastor. Some say to themselves, I'll show them, I won't contribute, or I'll take my money and go elsewhere, or we'll make them pay for the decision which hurts us. But as I said at the beginning, the parish, not the archdiocese, and not me, is responsible for parish finances. The reality is that vengeful sentiments only make things worse. Worse for the person who bears the heavy weight of harboring them, and worse for those parishioners who are invested in, care for, and love their parish. In other words, those who bear the burden of decreased mass attendance and who have been trying hard to support its mission. They are your neighbors, and they recognize that the viability of a parish depends solely on them and them alone. Which brings me to the matter at hand. The proposed ordinance to designate St. Andrew Church as historic. To some, that might sound like a nice idea because the church building is beautiful and has been around for a long time. But make no mistake, if enacted, the proposal would substantially burden the parish and threaten its mission. The proposal is intended to preserve and restrict the parish's property at the parishioner's expense. Let me repeat that, at the parishioner's expense. And it would be at the absolute worst time when they cannot even cover their own operating expenses through ordinary revenue. Historic designation will not change the sad reality that the church is closed and that the parish cannot afford to maintain it. So before you vote, I ask you to seriously consider how this ordinance will impact the already burdened parishioners of BMT Parish. Please do not put a yoke around my parishioners' necks anymore. Please vote no. Thank you.
Sir, please forgive me. My name is Jacqueline Weimer, and I have several questions for Father Sanders, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Father, thank you very much for your heartfelt words. I appreciate it tremendously. If you don't mind, I do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
What exactly is the Archdiocese's intent for that property if it is not declared a historical site?
I don't know. The reason is
You don't know.
we can't do anything with it because it was mentioned earlier that we had declined the right to a canonical appeal. That's not true. Parishioners have appealed to Rome, and so we're waiting for that decision to be made. So the diocese can't do anything with that property until that is made. Who knows when that will happen? The Vatican works at their own pace.
Okay, I appreciate that, thank you. I'm not quite done yet. What exactly is each individual parish's responsibility to support the Archdiocese? So let's assume each individual parish is responsible for its own maintenance, upkeep. You mentioned several times, and I noticed that after the sale of the school and the rectory, that first and foremost, the debt to the Archdiocese was paid first. So one might think that the Archdiocese is clearly operating in putting themselves first, not necessarily the parishioners. Now, that is just my opinion. I don't necessarily know that that was their intent. It is just what, from the outside looking in, that is what I see.
Okay.
So that debt was paid first. So, one, was there interest charged on the debt to the Archdiocese?
Yes.
There is.
I don't know what it is. I mean, because the reality is, because every parish is its own small business.
Yep.
It would be like any business here in town. If they needed money for a repair, they go to the bank, and you have to pay back the principal plus interest.
Yep, I understand.
But
And
it's
to the
not the
best
same
of-
interest as you pay at a bank.
Right, of course. It's not the same interest rate.
No,
Would
it's
you
less.
happen to know what that interest rate was?
No, it varies, and I don't know what it was.
To the best of my knowledge, the Catholic Church is the richest organization in the world. For it to charge its individual parishes a rate of interest is quite honestly somewhat disturbing to me, but that's neither here nor there.
It's an opinion.
What went into the decision to close the individual parishes? So I understand that they didn't have the ability to financially support both their expenses, their maintenance, and of course the debt to the Archdiocese. So would the Archdiocese ever consider, defraying their debt so that the church could become self-sufficient for a period of 5 years, 10 years? The city gives pilot programs all the time to developers that we're hoping for them to be successful, and we reduce their annual taxes so that we help them sort of get back on their feet. What was the Archdiocese willing to do for the individual parishes that might have assisted them?
I don't know what the diocese is considering at the moment. What I can tell you is that in 2000, then Cardinal McCarrick, or Archbishop McCarrick,
Yep.
forgave all parish debts.
In
In the
2010?
spirit, no, 2000,
Oh,
in the spirit of the Grand Jubilee. But when St. Andrew's School closed, they had such a low enrollment and were in deficit spending that that's where the $1 million debt accrued before all the schools were condensed in Bayonne.
I do realize, and I greatly appreciate you answering my questions, I do. I realize that attendance is down everywhere. Inflation is up. Families no longer have the ability to tithe specifically, and obviously even to support their local parishes. And I'm deeply sorry for that. I wish that there was something that I could do to assist them. I am torn between watching the church deteriorate and not being able to support itself, and losing an entire, it is a landmark. It was a safe, wonderful place for many of us. I was not a parishioner of St. Andrew's, but I did attend Holy Family Academy, and I went there often. It was a wonderful part of my teenage years, and I look back on it fondly. I too hope that perhaps someone will come along and give back to the community, perhaps develop it. And I must tell you, I'm not concerned at all about designating it a historical site, because all that would prove to me, in my mind, is to limit the Archdiocese's ability to sell that at an overblown profit. And I think that the people of St. Andrews deserve an opportunity.
I might take exception. The diocese doesn't sell at overblown profits. The diocese sells at market value. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Father. I appreciate it.
Good evening, Adam Fiala again. And I'm here to discuss why I think it's important for the members of this council to understand that there's an inadequate basis under law for this historic designation. To begin, the applicable requirements for historic designation of the property under Section 37 of the Bayonne ordinances have not been satisfied. The pending ordinance asserts that the church meets the criteria for historic designation for the following reasons, but those 5 reasons that are mentioned are merely recitations of the 5 criteria that appear in the Bayonne ordinances without any explanation for why or how the church meets the governing standard. The historical property report that the Historic Preservation Commission and Planning Board based its decision on was an insufficient attempt to check the boxes for the requirements in the Historic Preservation Ordinance. And it was barely more than 1 page. It didn't explain why the property met the criteria, and instead it simply listed some of their criteria after it lists a few alleged facts about the property. A member of the Historic Preservation Commission belatedly prepared a revised property report, which was sent to us this morning. And we do appreciate the courtesy of being sent that report after it was prepared, but it didn't really provide much time or notice for the public or for our client to fairly review the revised report. It also was not reviewed or approved by the Historic Preservation Commission or the Planning Board. Clearly, if it was prepared today, then it was not used as part of the basis of the Historic Preservation Commission's decision and the Planning Board's recommendation as well. Also, under the city ordinance, the Planning Board is required to issue its own report to the City Council about a historic designation. The ordinance requires that this must be a report, not a resolution memorializing their prior decision to recommend the historic designation. However, we requested, but were not provided, any report prepared by the Planning Board. If the Planning Board did not prepare its own report, then the ordinance requirement for historic designation was not met. That's a fatal flaw to the designation. So there's some significant errors that are contained in the pending ordinance itself that I wanted to briefly touch upon. It's in our, most of this is articulated in our protest letter, but I also wanted to put it on the record as well. The findings in the pending ordinance speak of a structure, which is the present-day Senior Citizen Center, that was built before the church was even constructed. The designer of the Senior Citizen Center is identified, as is the manufacturer of the church's stained glass windows, but that those identities lack any apparent significance to the historic designation. Even in the more detailed revised property report, the historical significance of the manufacturer of the windows is not apparent. The revised report detailed the history of the manufacturer, but the mere fact that someone designed an adjacent building or manufactured a stained glass window, no matter how much experience that company has, isn't proof of that the buildings or the windows' historic significance. Nor is it clear why the windows being Munich style matters for purpose of historic designation. And notably, we understand that it's our understanding approximately 120 other churches in New Jersey, including some in the local area, have windows made by the same manufacturers. There was also some testimony or statements today that the windows can only really be seen from inside. Neither the Senior Citizen Center nor the windows demonstrate that historic status for the church. The pending ordinance also states that the church's exterior bears some architectural similarity to a church in Bayonne, France, but neither the pending ordinance nor even the revised property report explain how the similar architectural features are or whether the church in France has any historic significance itself. The two churches, just from a picture side by side that we submitted, they don't look very similar. They consist of different materials, colors, and architectural features. The St. Andrew's Church exterior is also described as consisting primarily of reddish-brown dressed brick with limestone trim, but brick color hardly seems indicative of historic meaning, and if such significance exists, no explanation was offered. We've stated multiple times now also that the cited intricate steeples on the church were removed about a decade ago due to significant deterioration and are no longer part of the facade. We brought this error to the city's attention multiple occasions, and yet the former steeple is continued to be cited as grounds for historic designation of the church. Just as concerning is the city's attempt to use a historic site survey from nearly 25 years ago to justify the historic designation. And that survey was cited as part of the planning board's decision, and I believe may be cited in the pending ordinance. That survey was from the year 2000, and it simply codes the property as one of dozens of other sites as being potentially eligible for state and national designation, as well as being eligible for local landmarking. Those hypothetical codes don't support a historic designation of the church, and in fact, the survey itself did not state that the property should be designated historic. It said that further research is required. The parish is respectfully requesting that the City Council not designate the church as historic because the city has not met the requirements under its ordinance for a historic designation. And we believe that the designation should not go forward as it will substantially burden the parish and violate its rights under state, federal, and constitutional law. The pending ordinance designating the property is clear that the historic designation is to preserve the exterior of the church through the passage of this ordinance. And as Father Philip testified, the church requires extensive repairs at millions of dollars, a staggering sum that the parish simply cannot afford. Foisting these exorbitant costs on repairs onto the parish through a preservation obligation imposed by local government would be unbearable for the parish and its parishioners. And to make no mistake about it, the people who would bear the cost of this are the parishioners, not the archdiocese, it's the parishioners. Despite multiple inquiries by us and members of the public, city officials haven't so far specified how the parish's burdens and obligations would be mitigated or otherwise limited if the pending ordinances were enacted. There was a specific question at the planning board meeting, will the parish be financially obligated to preserve the facade? And the question was met with silence. I've heard solutions even here today of the parish being forced to sell the property or other potential uses. Some of those other uses aren't even permitted at the site. It seems like these are just hypothetical solutions without real consideration on the parish that would be burdened if they have to preserve it and spend these millions of dollars. The city's silence in regards to the burden on the parish adds to our serious concerns about the ramifications of the proposed designation, as well as the city's intention with respect to the property. And keep in mind, obviously, this is not a normal property. It is a religious institution. Restricting the parish's property would jeopardize the parish's ability to carry out its essential religious mission. The proposed designation would trespass on the parish's fundamental rights, including those guaranteed by the federal and state constitution, as well as federal statutory law. Religious organizations such as the parish possess the right to church autonomy and the freedom to exercise its religion. The government may not enact zoning or landmark measures that substantially burden the religious exercise of churches absent the least restrictive means of furthering a compelling government interest. Requiring the parish to preserve the church, especially if the parish is bearing the financial responsibility for doing so, infringes on these constitutional rights. We are open to continuing conversations with the city and trying to resolve this matter amicably. However, those efforts will be that much harder if the city designates the site as historic and hinders the ability for the parish to function. The parish has a responsibility to its parishioners to protect them from undue harm and to protect the parish's rights. For these reasons, we respectfully ask that you do not enact the pending ordinance. Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Fayla? Just a point of clarification, because one of the council members has a question on this maybe later. You stated that the planning board, because of its failure to provide a report, if it indeed failed to provide a report, causes this to be not in comportment with the ordinance. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, then why does it say in here, failure of the planning board to transmit its report within the 35-day period provided shall relieve the municipal council of its obligations relating to the referral of such a report to the planning board? It's obvious they have the ability to either provide one or not provide one. Failure to do so just means that they're not passing one way or the other, and it doesn't obviate this whole proceeding. That's my answer to you, to Councilman, but I just think it was, you could have been a little more complete with your reference to that section. It does say they shall prepare, but the very next line says, and if they don't, so be it.
Understood.
Mr. Fiala, this is not question and answer now, but I just want to let you know, you mentioned things that were in the ordinance and things that weren't in the ordinance. One of the major things that's not in this ordinance is to consider the financial repercussions, I don't have financial papers, nobody in the council got anything about money transfers, the point of sale. I don't know. Both sides are pointing at each other about money that I have no idea about. So just like we said at the historic meeting, we're going to stick to the facts, not the financial situation. I understand about the financial situation, but I have both sides claiming one thing or another. And so it's difficult, and I don't want to take a side against one or the other. So I'm going to stick to the facts. One of the people who came up and spoke talked about myself and Mr. Carroll and how we blame the Archdiocese. I don't consider that blaming. I consider that facts. And when I came up here, I talked about the facts. And unfortunately, it didn't make the Archdiocese look good. But I didn't make the Archdiocese not look good. They made themselves not look good. And I had all those facts in that speech, and I stayed very factual. I didn't let emotions get involved or anything of that nature. It was factual. And tonight, I myself am going to stay factual, and I hope my colleagues do the same. And I'm going to let them speak now after Mr. Skillender. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Council President, just to, point of clarification too, about the planning board role in this matter on the historic preservation. Just as every zoning ordinance, there has to be a master plan consistency review for that. And given the presentation, that I myself did to the planning board about this ordinance, the resolution that was provided to the council after the planning board did review it, looked at the master plan, which the 2000 master plan lists a bunch of properties throughout the city, and St. Andrews was listed in the master plan as one of those potential sites that may be meet the criteria for historic designation. So for any issues on the the planning board's report for it, the presentation was made, and I think the resolution kind of supports the findings of the board's findings of facts on that. So, but just for clarity's sake on the role and the purpose pursuant to the ordinance on the planning board's role, it's for the master plan consistency review.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Skillender. Lloyd, do you want to speak first?
Yes, Councilman Booker here. I just would like to add my little segment to this whole situation. I am a commissioner on the planning board. I represent the council, and Mr. Skillender is absolutely correct. We did review that according to the redevelopment plan 2000, and the council, the information that was provided to us did suggest that St. Andrews can be designated and could be an historical society site. I'm sorry. Now, as I sit down here and I think, listen, this is a very sensitive topic. There are people on both sides that are pro and con against the situation. I like to think Mr. Ryan made a suggestion, and as far as the historical society, that thinking outside the box is not a bad idea. That's my opinion. Okay, I believe that St. Andrews does, and I sit down and I've looked at this site is a very, very, very significant part of the downtown area. I think that it can be designated as a historical site. That is my opinion. I understand the argument, and along with the council president, what he just stated, as far as the financial aspect of this, I have no idea what the money is or where it's coming from or who owns what, when, where, how, or why. The fact of the matter is the information that was given to me, I approached this from a historical perspective, not a financial one, and that's the way I looked at it. And as far as being on the planning board again, the information, this can has been kicked down the road a couple times, and I've been trying to look at both sides. And I sympathize with people that are for, and I sympathize with people that are against. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, if everybody decided to work together, they could have resolved this situation without going back and forth and an us versus them idea. And that's not my saying. So that's all I have right now.
Okay, let's everybody make comments, and then we'll come back for the vote after the comments. Jackie, you want to go next?
I have a few parting comments. You know, I wonder, Mr. Fiala, why a historical designation would hinder the Archdiocese's ability to continue our discussions. I guess I don't understand that. I also wonder how much of the funds from the sale would have to revert back to the Archdiocese as opposed to being maintained in Blessed Miriam Teresa Parish to allow for the ongoing stability of that parish. And so, lastly, I wonder if there is a Monsignor buried on that ground. Why is it not considered consecrated ground? Why is it that the Archdiocese has the ability to change the rules when it suits them? In either case, I do believe we owe it to our forebears. I believe we owe it to that parish community to give them a chance.
Thank you. Juan, do you want to speak next? Yeah.
This is a very emotional decision we have to make here tonight. As a Roman Catholic, I lost my parish, which was Assumption. So, and eventually the property's probably sold and they're probably going to do something with it. But this church, I think it's a majestic church. It's a beautiful church. And my concern here is who is going to take care, who's going to maintain the facility if we vote either way. If we vote to make it a historical site, who can answer my question at who would be able to take care of the church and maintain it? I don't know. This is one question that needs to be answered by someone. And I know we don't have anyone here to answer it, but I feel just like my Councilman Booker, just like that. It's, let's think out of the box, like Mr. Ryan said. We can maybe utilize it for something else and probably maintain it. So I'm in favor of someone taking over the church and maintaining it and make it even better than what it is now.
Mr. Carroll?
I would agree. I'd agree with the way it's been described thus far as an emotional issue. I'd agree with my colleagues that raised the point that there is potential for that building. The term has been used and reused, so I'll reuse it, thinking outside the box. I would applaud my colleague, Councilwoman Weimer, for raising those several questions, one of which was the intent, which led to an answer that seemed to suggest that, well, the building's going to lie there indefinitely because you don't even know what's going to happen to it. And so that made my ears perk up because we're talking about following, as the council president said, following the ordinance, following the prescribed requirements, whether or not this passes tonight based on those factual, information that we've been provided, without having been provided the financial documents to which you alluded to, although you gave a description here. I would also take this time to correct my statement, which was mentioned at that meeting, not blaming the Archdiocese, but imploring them to be the savior that was needed at the time. I believe my comment at that meeting was, the mission has started, the means will come. And so I looked at the bishop, the cardinal, and I said, you're the means. That was my statement, that was my intention when I spoke from the heart that day. It wasn't to besmirch the church, it wasn't to denigrate the organization, it was to implore them to come to the aid of the parish as a whole, not just the ones that are seeking this be a historical site, not just the ones seeking that it not be. But as we go forward, there is no denying that that area is both, based on the information we've been provided, historic in its description, as well as, and it bears, I'm looking through my notes here, I wish I wrote your name down when you said it, Mr. Shivers, I believe. It bears noting that that has been the center of a community for generations. Not just the spiritual center, but the rock on which that community was built. And it's worth noting. I was glad he said it in the way that he said it when he came up to the podium. So as we go forward, I think it's important to note, no one up here is looking to tear a community apart. No one is up here is looking to turn brother against brother. I understand there's been talk even from the pulpit, casting aspersions on certain people, but that's not what we're here to do. We're here to look after a community. So.
When I think of St. Andrews, and I looked at all the facts, we all got reports, and people gave some flowing praise about the windows, the rose-colored glass at the front, even the steeples that are no longer there. These are all things that people remember. You know, the church is so much more than just what we described. Come over the Bayonne Bridge, what do you see? You see St. Andrews, it sticks out. I happen to feel bad about this whole situation for St. Andrews, and yet I'm a St. Vincent's parishioner, and I feel such a sense of pride when I come off that turnpike and I see St. Vincent's. We go do ribbon cuttings, we go up to the rooftop, I could see St. Vincent's from wherever we are. I could see St. Andrews when we're downtown. That means a lot. St. Mary's too, but you get my point, Lloyd, all right? There's a lot of good landmarks. And it's true, if I was giving directions to somebody, I would point out that landmark on 4th Street and Broadway as not just a building, but go down to the church, St. Andrew's Church. I wouldn't say 4th Street and Broadway. I didn't mention anything right now about the Gothic style and the special Franz Meyer windows, which we know are important. But that area of downtown, St. Andrews, meant so much. They talked about Irish immigrants coming. All kinds of immigrants were welcome at St. Andrews. All the things in the history, when people look back in their mind and they go, okay, I remember being there when they had a memorial mass for Kennedy being shot. I remember 9/11, after 9/11, the memorial mass that was there. All of that has an effect on all of us. I've been there for memorial masses for people who passed away. I've been to weddings there. How many people made their confirmation, their communions and all that? We're not looking for really big VIPs that had some epiphany moment there. This is the parish, like we said. Thousands of people had what they consider a special moment in that place. So I can look at the criteria of the windows and look at the building and the certain things that we all talked about, and that's true. But it goes beyond that, and that's what I'm looking at, the facts. As far as the money, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but it doesn't add up to me. You sold all these properties and everything else, and you brought it to a different place. You didn't even fix up the place that had the property in the first place that you sold. That should have been the first thing that you would have thought. Let's see about fixing certain things on this church. And I know the one woman mentioned about the people not going to Mass. I live down the block from St. Vincent's. You close my church, I'm not going back to Catholic Church. And again, the Catholic Church that we talked about, the school at St. Vincent's fallen down. They let St. Joe's go, St. Michael's, all these different things. Marist is gone. Did anybody stick up for any of these places? I'm not here to denigrate anybody, the Archdiocese or anybody else. I happen to be on the Finance Committee at St. Vincent's, so I know how difficult it is. But I think there are other ways, and I think everybody should get together. If you want to have another meeting, Father Phil, have another meeting and ask for suggestions. Because you know what? If they don't have suggestions, then you could say, talk is cheap. But there are ways. I know Mr. Ryan called it thinking out of the box, but I can go through. A lot of big cities have repurposed churches already. We have a history. You have a precedent that you could look at. If the Archdiocese truly wants to sell that church, they still can do that. And the church from the outside can keep the facade. The Archdiocese will obviously profit from that. And the people will still get to see the church work in a different area, work in a different thing than a church. So having said that, I'm going to pass it to Ms. Medina to call us for the vote. Motion.
Second.
And on the motion to close the hearing, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move it.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And the ordinance has passed. 02 is a bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of a new water chiller and various additional heating and cooling improvements to City Hall, appropriating $3,250,000.
Medina, can you just hold
You
for a
wanna wait?
moment, so this way we can allow these people, if they want to leave, they can leave.
Okay, that works.
Ready? Ms. Medina, please start again.
It's a bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of a new water chiller and various additional heating and cooling improvements to City Hall, appropriating $3,250,000 therefor, and authorizing the issuance of $3,095,200 bonds notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof, authorized in and by the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, which was introduced to pass first reading. The meeting held December 18th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of January 22nd, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by the council president giving the ordinance second reading. Ms. Weimer, will you second?
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title. Bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of a new water chiller and various additional heating and cooling improvements to City Hall, appropriating $3,250,000 therefor, and authorizing the issuance of $3,095,200 bonds or notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof, authorized in and by the City of Bayonne in the County of Hudson, New Jersey. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
So move.
On the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
So move.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
03 is a bond ordinance amending in part bond ordinance number 024-42, adopted July 17, 2024, providing for the improvements to various roads in order to increase the appropriation therefore by $800,000 for a total appropriation of $3,500,000, to increase the authorized bonds or notes to be issued to finance a portion of the cost thereof by $800,000 for a total debt authorization of $3,500,000 authorized in and by the City of Bayonne, County Hudson, New Jersey, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held December 18th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin boards required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of January 22nd, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by Councilmember Perez, given the ordinance second reading. Mr. Booker, will you second?
Second.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
It's bond ordinance read by title is bond ordinance amending in part bond ordinance number 024-42, adopted July 17, 2024, providing for the improvements to various roads in order to increase the appropriation therefore by $800,000 for a total appropriation of $3,500,000 to increase the authorized bonds or notes to be issued to finance a portion of the cost thereof by $800,000 for a total debt authorization of $3,500,000 authorized in and by the City of Bayonne in the County of Hudson, New Jersey.
Move it.
You did already. We already did that. That was second reading.
Second, okay.
The council is not, the council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
Motion.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move it.
And on the resolution for passage, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
04 is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, approving the redevelopment plan for the property located at 361-373 Kennedy Boulevard, which is identified as Block 262, Lots 7, 8, and 9, as shown on the official tax map of the city pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. It was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held December 18th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin boards required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of January 22nd, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by the council president giving the ordinance second reading. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, approving the redevelopment plan for the property located at 361-373 Kennedy Boulevard, which is identified as Block 262, Lots 7, 8, and 9, as shown on the official tax map of the city pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its
I have a
passage has been
question
filed with me.
before- Excuse me, before we go forward, a question for the attorney. Hi, Mr. Maselli.
Council President.
Can you tell me what is the setback for the top floors?
I believe part of it is, it steps back as the building goes further back. I think at the ground floor, but only the parking podium. It's right at the property line, but as you go back, it's 15 feet, and then I think 20-something feet as you step back.
Like the last 2 floors, I know there's a setback.
Yes, I think it goes to 20, and Mr. Slough actually prepared this redevelopment plan, but I think it's 20, over 20 feet by the time you get to the upper floors. So it's a pretty substantial setback, if I remember
And
correctly.
is that like rooftop property too? Is it going to be used for?
The plan that we have right now does not have a rooftop amenity. It doesn't mean it won't, but it didn't show one on the concept plan that we prepared. I assumed that they would want one just to compete with everyone else, but they didn't show it on this plan just yet.
There was something about a rooftop, I saw.
There are things on the rooftop, it's equipment and such, but it's not what we're used to
Okay.
seeing.
So I
Not
saw
yet.
rooftop,
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
it's mechanicals and things of that.
Yes, and there is open space up there to do those things, so I assume when we do the final site plan that something will be up there.
Okay.
But nothing's
And
been,
it's not on the area that's set back then on that?
it is not, no, it's, right.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have questions for Mr. Maselli?
Was there a unit count? I've been waiting for a unit.
66.
60.
Joe?
Council President, yeah, so with the setbacks on that, that's on the 5th floor, so 5th and 6th floor would be setback, so the apartment theoretically on the 5th floor could have a bigger balcony terrace, that is private for themselves. But again, that's for the setbacks, from floors 5 and 6.
Okay, thank you for that information.
Those balconies face Kennedy?
No.
Yes.
Well, no, not the back, the rear, we're talking about the
Oh,
rear.
rear, yeah.
No, there won't be any balconies. There might be some on the upper floors, but nothing like in the back. The back has a lot of open space.
How many parking space?
It's over 70, I think we had 71 or 70, yeah, 71.
66 apartments, 71.
Correct.
And that's an entry and exit on Kennedy
12,
Boulevard?
On 12th. I don't
On
think,
12th.
yeah, we're closing all the curb cuts on Kennedy.
Okay.
And I think we're looking at if that will add parking spaces. to the
Interior,
neighborhood.
move in, move out?
Interior loading space,
Interior
yes.
loading space. Okay.
Sanitation also interior, right?
Private. Yes, I think we're looking at what trucks we can get in there, but whatever it takes. It's either going to be the truck will drive in and park in that loading space, or the trash will be collected in at the collection time. It'll be dragged out.
When it comes up to the redevelopment agreement, that will be a condition listed in the redevelopment agreement, that they have to move, have a private hauler.
In a traffic study, please.
Absolutely, yes. We
Traffic
made a note of
study
that.
is, part of a site plan submission all the time.
Yes, and we did reach out to the client who is retaining a traffic expert now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, I'll take a motion to close.
So move.
Second?
On the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
To close, aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
So move.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
This is a former gas station. Is our director available?
It's not gas stations.
Sorry.
So it used to be many, that land's all been remediated, or is that a condition of their going in?
No, that would be, condition that they have to do Phase 1, Phase 2 for the reports if any environmental contamination is found on it to get it to residential standards. So, but yeah, this is the old gas station car sales on 12th and Kennedy Boulevard.
Right. I'm willing to vote aye on this. I want to see when they, as part of the redevelopment agreement, I would hope to see a workforce housing component at 66 units at 20% workforce housing. That would equate to 13 apartments, 13.2. I'm sure there's room for negotiation in there, but as they're going to have to remediate that land, I could see the value of such a development in such an area.
We'll look into it. Again, all that's based off the performa, so, part of the process that we're implementing and have been implementing is to be more financially focused. So we're trying to see the financial numbers at the start of the projects, for the city's financial professionals to evaluate the costs with that, so.
Thank you.
Is that to aye, Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer?
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
05 is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, accepting the dedication of Avenue G and other roadway improvements, which was introduced and passed a first reading at the meeting held December 18th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin boards required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of January 22nd, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by Councilmember Perez, giving the ordinance second reading. Mr. Booker, will you second? On the resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, accepting the dedication of Avenue G and other roadway improvements. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. No protests against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
Move it.
Second.
On the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Move it.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
06 is an ordinance amending the Scattered Sites Redevelopment Project Phase 2, Site 14, Route 440 West redevelopment plan to include the interim temporary use as permitted uses and to study Block 452.02, Lots 6, 7, and 9, to determine if the properties qualify as an area in need of redevelopment pursuant to NJSA 40A:12A-5, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held December 18th, was published in the Jersey Journal, as posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of January 22nd, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution moved by the council president and given the ordinance second reading. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending the Scattered Site Redevelopment Project Phase 2, Site 14, Route 440 West redevelopment plan to include interim temporary uses as permitted uses and to study Block 452.02, Lots 6, 7, and 9, to determine if the properties qualify as an area in need of redevelopment. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
Move it.
Second.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final
Move
passage.
it.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
07 is an ordinance authorizing and approving Title 39 traffic laws enforcement for applicant redevelopment Bayview JV LLC, designated redeveloper of certain property located at 219 West Fifth Street, and is known as Block 300.01, Lots 1.01, 3.01, 3.02, 3.03, 04, 05, 06, and 3.99, and Block 301.03, Lots 1.03, 2.01, and 3.01, and part of Block 511, Lot 1, pursuant to the Planning Board's application P 23020, and amending the supplementing Section 7-38 of the City of Bayonne's Municipal Code, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held December 18th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of January 22nd, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And the resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by Councilmember Carroll. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title. It is an ordinance authorizing and approving Title 39 traffic laws enforcement for the applicant redeveloper Bayview JV LLC, designated redeveloper of certain property located at 219 West Fifth Street. And the council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
So moved. Second.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
So moved.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
08 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 4, licensing, registration, and business registration, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held December 18th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of January 22nd, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And a resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by Councilmember Booker. Mr. Perez, will you second?
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 4, licensing, registration, and business registration. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak.
Yes, Mr. Mike.
Good evening, Mike Rosigno. On the ordinances, I can under garage sales, I didn't get a chance to actually go read the full ordinance at the city. What would that entail? The neighbors come out and they want to do a garage sale in front of the house, or what?
So it says flea market, not garage sale, but there's a 60-day application deadline for that?
Yeah, Mike. It's a pretty all-inclusive thing, and it does include garage sales. So we just need to have a central repository for all this stuff. Garage sales and just people just showing up on the street started to happen a lot last summer. And it was debilitating for the police department and for the law department and for the other, the health department, because people were planning things, they were selling food, vendors were showing, and we weren't aware of it. So we had to get control of this. This somewhat mirrors what they have in Jersey City. It's a little bit more inclusive because we looked at other municipalities that were a little bit more like ours. And so it just says if you're going to, let's say, have a block party, we need 30 days notice. If you're going to have a parade, we need 90 days notice. You're going to have a garage sale, I forget whether it's a week's notice or 10 days. But the smaller the event, the less lead-up time that we need, the less we have to involve the cops, the less we have to involve the law department, the health department. But we found out that people were, if you want to have a garage sale, you have one in the spring in April, and maybe you have another one right before it gets cold in November. There were people having garage sales every single week. It really wasn't a garage sale. It was it was more like a street sale.
Oh, so the full ordinance and everything, I'll get it at City Hall? Okay. Because there's different dates involved in it, times, I mean. Okay, thank you.
I'll give you a copy right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and again, some of these events, depending on how big they are, insurance is required, and there are some fees involved.
Anyone else on 08? No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
So moved.
On the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final pass.
So moved.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
09 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7, Traffic, which was introduced and passed the first reading at the meeting held December 18th, was published in the Jersey Journal and posted on the bulletin board as required by law, with notice that it would be further considered for final passage following a public hearing at this meeting of January 22nd, is now before the council for its consideration and a public hearing. And the resolution giving the ordinance second reading is moved by Councilmember Perez. Mr. Booker, will you second?
Second.
And on the second reading, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Second reading is by title, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7, Traffic. The council is now ready to give all persons interested in this ordinance an opportunity to be heard concerning it. The council president will recognize anyone who wishes to speak. No protest against, objections to, or statements in favor of this ordinance or its passage has been filed with me. May I have a motion to close?
So moved.
And on the motion to close, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And a resolution ordering final passage.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye. Just give me 1 second.
Our first speaker is Mr. Clark. State your name and address, please.
My name is Dennis Clark. I live at 4547 Kelly Parkway.
Okay. You can,
I found out I was trying to pay my rent on December 18th online on my landlord's tenant portal. Then I found out that my landlord sold the building while I was trying to pay my rent. And I'm under rent control, but there's other tenants aren't. And I feel that rent control is important for Bayonne because the new landlord, they're trying to raise the rent everybody up to $2,700. And there's people paying $1,200.
Did you contact our rent control board? Tony?
I called them today. They said I was under rent control, but for other tenants, I don't know, I heard that they did away with rent control.
So they did what they decontrolled rent control back under the Mark Smith, I don't know what year that was, 2012. And when somebody moves out, the landlord could come in and take the apartment and do improvements and raise the rent. So
But-
that apartment is no longer under rent control at that
No,
point.
I mean, I've been
So you
living.
must have been there before 2012. Yeah.
Yes. But I'm talking about, how about other people? We got elderly, we got people on disability. Their rents are going up $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 more than they're paying, and residents in my building don't think it's right.
Yeah, again, I would contact the rent control.
Mhm.
There is a board, and they can help you with that. We'll get you the number, okay?
Okay,
'Cause
thank you.
That's where I think you should go.
And
Go ahead.
would you state your name again? So I
Dennis Clark.
Mr.
I
Clark.
spoke to you, Mr.
Yes,
Clark.
sir. I just want to address you with respect. So, Mr. Clark, we did speak.
Mhm.
Other people in your immediate neighborhood have reached out as well.
Oh, yeah.
I tend to get a lot of those calls because I've been out in the forefront of trying to get a return to rent control or some level of affordability and rent stabilization in town. What I they all suggested, and it's absolutely the right course of action, to contact the Rent Control Board, to contact the BEOF in the event that anybody needs legal representation and that they meet the requirement that they
I
can
gave
provide it.
information on that out
Excellent.
to people.
But gather your friends and neighbors, contact me, tell me when to come down there.
Mhm.
There's an issue on the agenda tonight, R7, that we're going to talk about, and
Okay.
related to affordability. It's pressing, as I know you know, and just
Yes.
and I hope you don't mind me saying, the fear, the concern in your voice when we spoke, when you got that initial notice.
Oh, yes, because.
That's what people are suffering with all over.
Mm-hmm.
And I have enormous respect for you coming here and speaking on this issue tonight. It needs to be heard. It needs to be understood and
Well,
taken
the majority,
in.
excuse me, but the majority, people are afraid of, if I come to a meeting like this, that there are going to be repercussions against me and other people, tenants, for speaking up.
I understand, and that shouldn't be the case, and maybe in years past that was the case.
And it's not from public officials like us either. We're-
Oh, no, I understand, but here's just this last Tuesday, I saw my new landlord, he goes, oh, how's this troublemaker? Because I'm the one trying to go around and get people to come here.
It's understandable, and like I said, I'll come down there, because this is something that people should be informed about. They shouldn't
Oh, yeah,
have to live with
I
that
believe,
fear.
yes.
And going forward, I do hope more people come to the meetings, because there's a silent majority out there.
I gave out 40,
need this help.
about just this meeting, 40 flyers for the 40 tenants in my building. I mean, 40 apartments in my building. One of them showed up.
God bless you, sir. I appreciate you coming out tonight, and you represent many people. So let's hope we can get something done. Would you state the address again?
45, our address is 4547 Kelly Parkway. The next building next to us is 4143 Kelly Parkway.
Thank you.
And you got my number,
I know.
I have the email, and I got yours.
And I'll share it as well, and all I can say is I hope it finally hits home.
I hope so, because
We gotta do something.
I contacted rent control, and they said, my apartment is under rent control, but there's other people aren't, and I believe if not rent control, at least put a cap on it. If you're paying $1,000 a month, and then a new owner comes to buy it, and they're raising your rent to $1,200 more than the $1,000 you're already paying, it's ludicrous.
That's the perfect word.
And Bayonne's got a homeless population problem. You're just adding to the problem.
But 18 months ago, that's what I said. I said, you need to address it before these individuals fall into the
it's not
safety
like-
net or below the
Yes.
safety net. Address it now, and you alleviate
Yeah, it's
some of
not
that
like
problem.
you can say, oh, cut back on your grocery goods. You can't even buy a dozen eggs for $2 anymore.
But just so you know that under rent control, if they want to increase, they have to justify the increase. But when it's not, he can raise up to whatever he wants. But again, they talk about market rate, and he still has to do improvements to just.
No, I understand improvements, but here's improvements, but thing
I
is,
understand that the gap you're talking
Yeah.
about is large.
I mean, you're paying $1,000, here you're paying $2,700 now.
We all sympathize with that because that would hurt most people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I work down the shore, I live in Bayonne. If, in 5 years, I'm planning on retiring, my pay gets cut right in half. Then I'll be sleeping in the park with the next homeless man. I mean, seriously.
I represent an older population as well in the first ward, and they all have those same concerns. Yeah.
And in my building, there's people that's just disabled, senior citizen, people, families, and they're being displaced because all these high rises and so on.
Thank you.
Before, Mr. Clark, just want to let you know that in 2014, we had it on a ballot. Mr. LaPalooza, myself, we assisted the people who wanted rent control. Nobody came out to vote, just to let you know.
No, I understand.
And it failed.
No, I
mean,
understand.
We put
I'm-
flyers out, collected money to organize and everything else, and the people who it was going to benefit didn't come out to vote. They
Mhm.
got overwhelmingly.
No,
voted
I
down.
understand.
So if you don't come out and vote for what you have. I mean, you put 45 flyers out and 2 people showed
Yeah.
up. You know, and we're not, again, we're not against it, but if you're for it, you gotta come out for it.
Oh, no,
Show your-
that's why I'm here.
Show your voice, yeah.
Which
I mean,
we
I thought,
greatly appreciate.
honestly, I thought I'd be the only one, but this gentleman came.
And the council president's right. You know, so people have to come out and stand up for themselves. But it is also the nature of our roles here to act on behalf of the people, whether they show up or not. When
Yes.
something is right, it needs to be done, whether you have 1,000 people behind you or 1.
But we listen to people who come to the meetings, so your voice can be heard here, and we will listen.
No, and I
So-
appreciate it.
So the more, obviously, the better voice you have.
I appreciate it, thank you.
And Mr. Clark, real quick, Councilman Booker, I just also want to say that, listen, this is not just a Bayonne issue. This is
Oh,
a
no,
nationwide issue.
No, I
Okay, and
understand that.
I personally have done my own research, and this conversation can go on for quite some time. As a
no, I
council, I
understand
can
that.
only
I mean-
speak for me, but as my colleagues, we understand the whole idea in terms of affordable housing, and people need a place to live, an affordable place. But the research and all the data that's out there right now, it is really a difficult time for people and a conversation, and what we're trying to look at is trying to come up with possible solutions to make it better for everybody. We're not sitting here and ignoring the whole idea. But again, my colleague said,
Oh, no, I
if you
never
have a
said
room
was-
that people don't
you
come
were- I
out,
never said
and
you
we
were
really can't
ignoring it.
understand
It's
it.
just, something's gotta be done with this problem.
I agree with you 100%.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Plaza?
He basically said everything I was going to say. But basically what it is I moved there because there was a fire in my building. They put me in the place. Then I got to the point when I had to go to the eye doctor. And that I kept on putting it off. And then what happened was I had a stroke. That's all that. So now this guy's coming to raise my rent? No. That's the only thing. So that is why I want to get my voice heard, because I don't want to lose my apartment. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Next one is an ordinance for introduction. It is a refunding bond ordinance of the City of Bayonne in the County of Hudson, the State of New Jersey, providing for the refunding of all or a portion of the city's general obligations, refunding bonds and school bonds dated June 10th, 2020. That date is wrong, should be 2015. Appropriating a combined amount not to exceed $22,700,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $22,700,000 combined amount of the general obligation refunding bonds and school refunding bonds of the City of Bayonne for financing the cost thereof. And a resolution fixing Wednesday, February 19th at 6 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage.
Move.
On introduction, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
011 is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, adopting the redevelopment plan for the property located at 1012-1022 Avenue C, which is identified as blocks 64, lots 2 and 3, as shown on the official tax map of the City of Bayonne pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. And a resolution fixing Wednesday, February 19th at 6 p.m. in the Dorothy E. Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage.
Move it.
And second?
Second.
Who'd like the second?
Juan, second.
Oh, I didn't hear him, sorry. And on the introduction, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? 011. She has a question. It's the redevelopment plan.
I apologize. Director Skillender, this is the.
This is the synagogue property on Avenue C in 48th and 49th
Okay.
Street.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It escaped me for a moment. I wanted to make sure I knew it was. Thank
Sure.
you.
Okay.
Thank you. I
While
vote aye.
while you're there, could you just do quick units and stories?
Units haven't been decided because it's a redevelopment plan that is given parameters, but it's it's 5 stories, and again, on the setback issues, because it's not abutting up to residential, there's a condo unit behind it for the driveway. We have it between 3 to 5 feet, depending on the height there, so. And then the parking ratio is kind of standard with the other redevelopment plans that we have.
And they're going to try their best to have that internal.
yes.
Yeah, I recall
Yep.
now. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
012 is an ordinance of the City of Bayonne, County of Hudson, New Jersey, adopting and affirming the vacation of a portion of Avenue I previously approved by ordinance 08204 on February 24th, 1982, but not perfected. And a resolution fixing Wednesday, February 19th at 6 p.m. in the Dorothy Harrington Council Chambers as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage.
Move it.
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll? No, for introduction.
It's introduction.
It was a little vague, what the director described. And again, given what we just heard from members of the audience, I would ask that in the 30 days between now and next month, you gave me one of the politest and kindest brush-offs when I asked for 04. You said, we'll look into it. But I'd like either a in-person meeting or some memoranda regarding the potential for workforce or affordable housing in that structure for next month.
Sure, so, but for this ordinance on
We're on
Avenue.
012.
Okay. Yeah.
You voted
Oh,
on that.
good Lord. Well, on 12, it's this similar issue, adopting and affirming.
It's a vacation of a road that was a paper street.
Well, we can go back. That's how wonderful we are. With respect to 11, that's what I'm asking for before next month's meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
So for Avenue I, it's an old paper street by IMTT. It wasn't perfected back in the 80s, and for the right-of-way, just to get it off our tax map, that's what this ordinance is in play.
So Joe, does, for all intents and purposes, does Avenue I disappear, or does it?
It's already been built upon.
Huh?
On our tax map, it exists on paper. It's a paper street, but it's already been built upon off of East 22nd Street all the way down on Constable Hook. Quite
So
frankly,
vacating is just saying you're giving it to the other entity, basically.
the city's no longer using it, or we haven't perfected what was done back in 1982. This is
They're
just-
correcting something that didn't take place before Joe was born.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
explain it, explain it not just for me, but to the public.
So we were supposed to have vacated a street, Avenue I in this case. What happens then is that normally, if you had a regular street and there's a property owner on one side and on the other side, 50% of the vacated street goes to Mr. A, 50% goes to Mr. B. If there's 10 along Avenue I, 10 would get on one side, 10 would get on the other side. And apparently this just, we go through title searches and everything now, they discovered that this was never perfected. It was approved, that there's an ordinance that says we're vacating the street, but then nothing was ever filed up with the county, so that approval means nothing because you have to essentially have public notice of everything. So Joe was curing something that, we were in Little League when this happened.
Yeah. So your forefathers, you know.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the explanation,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
it's a little,
Yeah.
Like,
it's
there's,
a little vague. It's just,
if you look at some of the maps really on Constable Hook, it's the Wild West out there. Like there's,
And when we start dealing with that on a
Yes.
more regular basis in the years to come, as that gets,
Yeah.
it really will be, there'll be title companies churning paper out
Yeah.
24/7, 365, because
trees dying, huh?
everything down there is a mystery.
yeah. So, I mean, like, look, even just looking at the tax map there, I know there's an Avenue H we're gonna have to do at some point. There's gonna be Hook Road, there's a small little road that you could walk to the cemetery on paper. Down there, it's just correcting some of these old mistakes that, you know, might not have been perfected, or, you know, some other reason or another, we, you know, didn't take any action on.
Thank you, Joe.
Hey, Joe, real quick, Director, just for my own education, a lot of these paper roads, or the paper roads that you're referring to, they were to accommodate at one point in time the industrial area that was in that area, correct?
Well, the industrial area also, probably 120 years ago, you know, the Constable Hook, you know, community that lived down there. I mean, there are some houses that are on Prospect that were picked up and moved because Rockefeller decided, all right, you know, you can't have houses next to an oil tank in case they catch fire. So, you know, by de facto, you know, current zoning was in play, and all right, let me keep oil tanks down separate from residential.
Thank you.
So,
Mr. Ryan?
Just to add to that, the street map of Bayonne in 1888 had lettered avenues going from A all the way out to N on the eastern end of Constable Hook, and then the lettered avenues continued O to W across Bergen Point. The Bergen Point streets gradually got names rather than letters, and finally there was Avenue W, which was hanging out there by itself, and then that got obliterated by industry, the same as most of the lettered avenues on Constable Hook did. But yeah, there were people living out there before there was industry.
Thank you. We appreciate the history.
I have the map in my office if you want to see it.
I will. I'll come by.
That's how we like it downtown, name streets.
I noticed it's spelled ow.
So on the introduction of 012, Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
013 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 17, Property Maintenance, and it fixes Wednesday, February 19th as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage.
Move it.
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
014 is amending and supplementing the revised general ordinances of the City of Bayonne, Chapter 7, Traffic, and a resolution fixing Wednesday, February 19th as a time and place for a public hearing and final passage.
Move it.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
015 is amending Chapter 7 Traffic and a resolution fixing Wednesday, February 19th as a time and place for public hearing and final passage.
Move.
And on the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And communications is a resolution moved by the council as a whole, ordering the following communications to be received and filed. It covers C1 through C15. Any questions on the communications? On the communications, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
Pause before we go on to the
Oh,
OR.
you know what? I'm sorry. I apologize.
We just want to take a look, well, I'll let the council president define it.
Oh, sure. So, for 08, we talked about the festivals and parades and flea markets, garage sales, et cetera. There is a $10 fee in there for garage sales that we would like to, we want to do this next month, actually, so we don't have to reopen it again. So we're going to suggest that people can do 3 per year without paying a fee.
Yeah, a waived fee.
Yeah. So my colleagues, I don't know if you're in agreement with that, but we thought that would be pretty fair.
For the garage sales only, it's a small scale, you know, I think it helps the regular guy or the elderly person.
But $700 for the fourth one?
You know, got to draw the line somewhere.
Joe, you want to add something to
Well,
that?
no, as, if the council so decides, just knowing some Tracy's burdens on one of the properties that, as Jay was describing, that under the guise of a, garage sale, they're basically operating a flea market. They have, stuff that's every 2 weeks out on, Kennedy Boulevard.
I've seen, I got
yeah.
calls for some of them, they're uptown, and,
Yeah.
well, there's some all over the place, but they're even like sloppily put together, I hate to say
Yeah.
that, so it'd be nice to have a little oversight on that.
Yeah. But just on the fee waiving of that, if, if they're operating a business.
Some of them are blocking the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
This
Precludes
and,
that.
you know.
Well,
This limits, this
Yeah.
provides parameters, timeframes.
We'd be able to, this year, with this ordinance, go after the person and enforce some real measures to make sure that they're not abusing the garage sale system. Because we'll say, no, this isn't a garage sale, this is your 7th week in a row. This is actually a flea market.
Yeah, it's almost like a retail
Right.
shop,
Oh, yeah,
really,
that,
when you
that's,
think about it.
the one uptown was like a retail shop. They were
Right.
wheeling stuff out.
And it's almost every week, you're right about that. But also, this will take care of people's private property. Sometimes the line for some of these events go past private property, and then some of the people on the line do things to the private property that the person who runs the event will be responsible for. And we've had damage done to people's personal property only because they just happen to be where a line of people were. Thank you, Joe.
So, officers' reports is a resolution moved by the council as a whole, ordering the following officers' reports to be received and filed, and any resolutions incorporated within to be adopted. It covers OR 1 through OR 2. Any questions on the officers' reports? And on the officers' reports, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
We're on consent resolutions. I am pulling CR 4 because the information has changed, so it will come after the adoption of the consent resolutions, which is moved by the council as a whole, ordering the following resolutions to be adopted. It covers CR 1 through CR 18. Any questions on the consent resolutions? Nothing there. Mr. Booker? Aye. Mr. Carroll? Aye. Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
CR 4 is authorizing the purchasing agent to execute any and all documents and take any and all actions necessary to effectuate the purchase of 4 police patrol-equipped 2025 Ford Utility Interceptor police vehicles from Paramus Ford, doing business as All-American Ford of Paramus, pursuant to its quote, through the Bergen County Co-op CK04 for the amount of $174,572. And it's being funded by the City of Bayonne's Federal Credit Union.
Right, so the amount did not change, just the location?
Just the provider.
Right, okay.
So, who would like to move that?
I'll move it.
Second.
And on CR 4, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
CR 19 and 20 are, first 19, these two are going to be subject of a public hearing. CR 19 is authorizing the execution of an enabling resolution, application, and agreement with the State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Green Acres Program, Jake's Law Initiative, for $545,250 from the state and $181,750 local match from the Hudson County Open Space Trust Fund to fund the following project: a complete inclusive playground at the North Street Mini Park.
And thank you for your patience, waiting for this to go through, so. Okay, thank you, Ms. Mack, I appreciate that. I got it.
gave her some, she gave you something.
You got the teacher's card.
You got the cheat sheet.
I thought you especially would appreciate that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Had the answers in it, you know.
Yeah. We do use we use this during planning board, and unfortunately, I was not set up for planning board this evening.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah,
all.
we got to do North Street Mini Park first. Do you get North Street Mini Park?
I think there were two.
They're to get, there's two there. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be next.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah. We're very good about parks and sharing. Again, I have to thank our law director for helping me so much. Anyway. This is my annual rite of passage. The Green Acres program is usually due just about now. So we have been working as a team to decide whether we would be able to utilize Green Acres funding. Corey V. from New Jersey DEP Green Acres program is here tonight, as she joined us last year, which is, I thank you for doing that. And Commissioner Lack from the Planning Board is actually the person who helps us with the outreach on these programs, and we appreciate his participation also. So tonight we're going to talk about the improvement to the North Street Mini Park. This project is very special. It is the last year of the Murphy's administration offering of a law, which is Jake's Law. It was designed around the state. Each county must have an inclusive playground that exceeds the normal work that is done for playgrounds in terms of ADA accessibility and access for our citizens, little citizens and adults who have disabilities. And as we all know, the council has supported many of these types of applications. The opportunity is here is because it's the last year that practically every project that has been applied for has been granted, but it will not be available after this year. So we made a concerted effort with Director Cotter and Ms. Mauer to see how we could take advantage of this special program before it goes out of existence. And the criteria is 75% from DEP and 25% match from the city, which sometimes is difficult for us to do. But through Director Cotter and his relationship with the County of Hudson, we were joined by our Hudson County Open Space personnel a couple of weeks ago, Francesca Giatano and Sam Schroeder. And the county walked into the meeting, said they'd be very happy to provide the match, as they have done for the other projects in Hudson County that have received Jake's Law funding. So with that, this application was actually, we had worked on it, as you know, Rob Russo and Darren Mizell from his staff are excellent designers of all of our park projects that are not on the waterfront, the local ones, and we were able to dust off the one that we had worked on last year, but last year we couldn't think of where to get the match. So we can now advance it, and I'll go through this pretty quickly. But I did want to say that the Jake's Law is a program that was enacted by the state of New Jersey in 2018. It was set into motion named after a little boy who was 2 years old who died of brain cancer, but enjoyed use of the parks up until that time. So they did name it after this little boy, and it has it's a very special type of improvement. Now, the North Street actual Park, I think everybody knows where that is. In my haste, your hard copies only have 4 slides. My presentation has 7. So I will ask Director Coffey to move ahead. And, you have the hard copy, yeah, so those are 2 repeats. So either one, you're good, Director, and I will go from here. So some of the elements, first of all, I'm going to just tell you how much it costs, so that's not until the last slide, but it's easier to tell you that now. The total application is for $727,000. It has a $172,000 match, so the total project cost will be the $727,000, and Green Acres will provide $555,000 for the project. And if it is approved, we will get subsequent agreements from Green Acres later this year. And then Hudson County will provide for the application, which is due on February 5th, a letter of commitment for the match funds. So the difference, and this is on your 3rd slide, which you already have up on the screen. The difference is that the trees will remain. That's always a question. But there will be ramps with ADA features that will be applied throughout the property. There will be ADA accessible game boards, ADA accessible equipment. Now, there's going to be 5 to 12 playground structures there, and as I said, they will all be ADA accessible. There also will be decorative benches, and I think we've all seen some of the great work that can be done around town, what we've been able to do with color and figures that make the area much more lively for our children. Concrete sidewalks, dedicated trash facilities, which is important to clean up after. But one of the things that is different, and we are also doing it in Field of Dreams, which is our HUD project, and I think everybody has been there and knows what's going on there. There's a proposed quiet area. So an area where the children, when they're running around, there's a little area where they'll be quiet and they'll be able to go over there. And one of the really nice things about this park, or I find very interesting, is that there's a shaded play area. So there'll be a triple swing set up, but it will be shaded, because if you're a parent and you have your kid go to daycare and things, you see that it's nice to have the children have an area to run around with, but you don't want them to have sunburn either. So this is being a more sensitive context, and also many of the things that that are features that are there now will be taken out. All of the things basically will be taken out and replaced. But there is a spray area in that park, and that will be taken out, and new equipment will be put into it also. So again, the reasons will be to provide play for all children and adults with disabilities, and the public. I mean, they're all our children and all our adults, that has physical, sensory, cognitive, social, emotional, and communication needs to be met. So I know you've seen these on play equipment where they're actually basically they are equipped with this communication devices so that people with disabilities can use them, and our children. And the existing trees will remain, and will provide for more trees so that you'll get more shade. And an additional shade canopy is proposed over the triple bay area of benches. And again, Director Cotta's vast experience with this in all the other good things that he's put into parks that we have not been asked to do, but Bayonne, through his offices, have just included. We were able to incorporate this. We meet the criteria very easily with this. The next is just pictures of the existing play area. I think we all know that our parks and our play areas are overused, and most of them, except we've done a great many new ones, but they need refurbishing. And with the availability of this special fund, we will be able to provide that to the public. Now, one of the other things about this program that Green Acres has asked us to do is to reach out to the public to get their comments. And so back in December, through Madeline, we were able to post information on this application, and the information includes everything you see here, and it includes an environmental assessment of the property, so that's up front and taken care of. All of that material was posted to our website before the end of December, and then also they want a second means. So actually, Commissioner Lack designed a survey for us, and that survey was put up, and we basically have 67 responses, and it basically asks you, are you in favor, would you like this, and also, do you have any suggestions? And there were suggestions in it. Those suggestions have been passed over to the engineering department, and they have looked at them, incorporated them, and we still have about another week and a half if more people answer. And again, one of the criteria is that you listen to the public and you incorporate what the public wants. So in this case, as one would suspect, the response from the public is positive, and there were very good things. Shade trees was also in there. They discussed the water features and the different things that they felt would make the park more acceptable and more useful to our citizens of Bayonne. So again, I thank everybody. So then after that, we also got the help of Eduardo Fertante, our OEM, who helped us get the notices out, and also Pete Amadeo handled the notices on Facebook, and Joe Ryan, Dr. Ryan, as usual, is in charge of us all when it comes to public outreach because he has the feel for it, he has the pulse of the people, and so it's been going back and forth. But tonight, you know,
It's a great group effort.
well, everything we do is team, you know that. Yep. I mean, and you're our team leaders up there.
Well, we thank you
You're
very much.
our team leaders. I have my law director helping me with the computer, so how much more of a team can you get? But I have to thank everybody. I have to just thank you because I think it's all of the efforts we spent on not only this program of Green Acres, the Hudson County Open Space Trust is wonderful, and also the work that we've been able to do with HUD for the larger projects. So we're hoping to see more of that come before you this year. And of course, we have Field of Dreams opening in April. So again, I think we had a review. Ms. V couldn't comment on that. She doesn't have to comment tonight, but we had a review by DEP. They came out with Director Cotter and toured all of our parks that have been funded by Green Acres. And they gave us a couple of suggestions, some new signs. The county also directed us, on a little tour, and they also have new signs just to make sure that that everyone knows that the group effort also includes, in these cases, the County of Hudson, who is known for open space, and also DEP, who through their Green Acres program has provided us with tremendous support through the years. And so what I would ask is that you let any other members of the public that might be here, if they have any comments, or if you would advance. Madeline is the best at this. There is a public transcript, minutes of the meeting that she will, over the next couple of weeks, certify and include in the packet as a necessary portion. And tonight she'll have more time because last time we gave her an hour to do that after the meeting. So, so we were very happy that we were able to come to our regular meeting to ask you to consider this for us.
So, Madeline, is this adopted tonight, or are we going to wait that?
No,
night?
no. There's a resolution in the packet to adopt.
The title is public hearing and adoption. So
Yeah, there is a resolution. I don't know.
So we are.
Yeah. You would adopt it tonight. Then she would do the necessary certifications, and as I said, the whole packet will be put together by our grant people, Millennium Strategies. They send that into us. They don't do all of our grants. They do. We do our own open space grants, but Hudson County and the HUD, the federal. But they really do a nice job at making sure we comply with all the things on the checklist. And again, I can't thank. Said it before. Can't thank Director Cotter and Donna Maurer for helping us develop the project. Our engineering team, CME for putting it together, and also, you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madeline?
So on CR 19, you want to move it as a whole?
Yeah, are there any
Yes.
questions?
Move it as a whole.
Any? questions. I don't know if anybody's here.
Yeah, any questions from the audience before we move on to adoption?
Gary, I'd just like to make a little comment here. North Street Park, we tried to do it a few years back, and we were having a hard time securing funding and the match, which is the most important thing, and it got put on the back burner. And Sue's been up here talking about how everyone did this and that. Yeah, we all do our part, but this project probably wouldn't have happened if Sue didn't stay on it. And she never gives herself credit.
Oh, thank
Sue,
you.
you deserve it for this one.
Thank
You stuck with this, you made sure we got it, and
Thank you.
I know sometimes we go back and forth and we get, we can't do it, we can do it, yeah. But I want to thank you for sticking with this
Thank
and making it possible, and then working with the county, and we all pitched in together, but
Your
Sue was the
perseverance-
driving force behind this getting
Our
done this year.
perseverance makes a
And I want to thank her for that.
Oh, that's-
Recognize her, because you never recognize yourself, Sue. Every once in a while, you deserve a little bit. All right?
I appreciate it, more than you know. More than you know.
So on CR 19, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
CR 20 is authorizing and executing an enabling resolution, application, and agreement with the State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Green Acres Program, Urban Parks Initiative for $2,690,000 from the state to fund the following project, which is the Veterans Park Shoreline Restoration and Resiliency Project. You move it as a whole?
Yes.
Give Jay a second to pull it up, I hope. Otherwise you have it, it's a very short packet. Yeah, if it doesn't, as I said, I have it. Yeah, it was open before. We had the same problem back at my desk. We thought it was me, what usually is.
So,
But
I
I
see
can-
I see the outline.
Yeah, I can
The,
get started.
Existing riverfront walkway, right? So we have one of those down 16th Street Park?
Yes.
Are we going to do that down Veterans Stadium, like that small boardwalk or whatever you want to
I'm-
call it?
I could,
Is that what we're talking about? Because, right, on the second page, there's a picture, I believe that's 16th Street, of that boardwalk that I
This-
was talking about.
yeah, these are previous.
It says boardwalk on it,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
So,
But is that what we're gonna get on that shaded part of the,
yeah, I can, I hope I can answer your question.
of page 3?
As I go through it. So this is an area, and you know how I feel about the Hackensack River projects. Bayonne, because of what we were talking about earlier, about Constable Hook and Moppy and all those other things, the people couldn't get to our Hudson River for decades, more than a century almost, and then we opened it up, the Hudson River. But the real gem of Bayonne is the Hackensack River and the projects that we've been doing for the last 20 years, starting with Rakowski Park and moving all the way down to, to Gregg Park, and then the parks that really have been done under this administration, and the end of the last, where we were doing Veterans Stadium, and then Veterans Stadium, we moved down, and there've been, over the past few years, there's been total emphasis on doing the public improvements at 16th Street to open that area with kayak launches and other things. So some of the things that have been done, and it's 16th and 25th Street, it's not avenue projects. We've done waterfront walkway construction there. We've done waterfront refurbishment and resiliency improvements. We've done landscaping and lighting, and we've done boardwalk. We've done boardwalks at 16th Street. We've done them on 25th. And, we've done what we can. But we've gotten a great deal of funding for these projects, again, under Director Cotter. These projects are done by our other engineering firm, with who you're all familiar with, Waterman. Andy Reichel handles as you know, the waterfront projects and the water projects, since he is a underwater engineer, and he's also our environmental engineer. So the projects that we've gotten, just right now on the books, we've done phase 1 of DEP in this area for over $2 million. We have another project that was approved last September, which we're getting a contract on now to complete that. That's another $2.4 million. Tonight, we're looking at an application for $2.6 million more. And the DOT actually gave us, through the governor last year, they gave us $500,000 for the same. So, you know, the total totality of this is to take that Hackensack River, and also the county has an initiative now where they're doing Hackensack River. We have a committee, Ms. V sits on it, as some of the rest of us do, and they're trying to open that whole area. So they're doing a signage plan, a walkway plan. The Hackensack River Baykeeper is on it. So again, we have another team that we're on with the county leading it, and DEP is a large part of doing these things. So Mr. Cotter, when he got an opportunity to apply for this year, he met with Mr. Freichel. They went through where they were, what they've been able to do, what's on the books, and now to do more completion of it. And the elements of it, shoreline stabilization, we're putting all these walkways in and cleaning up the area, but we got to make sure that they continue to stand up. So this shoreline stabilization is an important piece of it. The retaining wall for resiliency, as you know, we do nothing. We spend, ask Director Skillender, we do hours of resiliency work on the Hackensack River, and for the development projects that we approved there, had to raise Togus, had to raise Mr. Posada has left, but he represents Nasarima. Mr. Maselli is probably here. He represents the A&P. We are working in every project to handle the stormwater, handle the flooding. I sit on the OEM hazardous mitigation plan, which is done by Junior Frattante and through Suzanne Kavanaugh's here. I mean, we have a whole team of people in this building with John Armstrong that work constantly, including Joe Nichols, who is retired but works now for Bauman Associates, where we work on what can we do to make these areas open to the public, what can we do to make them, to maximize the development potential of them. And all of these grants for open space, public improvements, the DEP, Hudson County, they have become a key player in us doing our work out on what we call the Avenue A corridor. So, so as I said, shoreline stabilization, retaining wall, replace the existing fishing pier. Everybody wants fishing. Replace the existing exercise equipment. Replace and extend existing waterfront walkway, and then landscaping and lighting improvements. So I feel with this application, anytime you get $2 million for anything, this is almost $3 million on top of 2.4 that we have yet to spend. It gives me the pleasure of saying that we can move what was Mr. Cotter's envision would happen on the west side of the city. And really, it really does, Director, doesn't it? Like really help us complete, not only this one, off the ONRR, we have several millions of dollars that can go to bid, and this can really help to push them. On the list, yeah, so I think the next page may be the last. But anyway, you have the budget in front of you. So the budget is for $2.689 thousand, and the major elements are for that stone refurbishment, reinforced concrete wall, and then the solar lighting, the timber pier. Those are the really high items, the 400 and 300,000 items. And then there's general work, clearing site, earthwork. I think I found 8 that I thought were mentioned, and straight, again, concrete walkway and shade structure. The beauty of this program has no match. So it comes out of 2 different DEP funds, one for urban parks and then a supplemental fund that we can apply, that they roll the application in. As you know, because I think you were all apprised of it, DEP, through their manager, spent hours with Bayonne to try to finally clear up. It wasn't it was our problem. We had parks that were built in 2000 that we're out enjoying, and we hadn't been reimbursed because they were part of the Tidelands program, and we couldn't get anybody to sign off at DEP on the Tidelands. We were very lucky after years of working on it to have someone who works with the Tidelands Commission be able to float a resolution, and it was resolved. And as a result, Mr. Coffey has done nothing but process agreements for millions of dollars worth of reimbursements, and Donna Maurer, through her staff, has been signing those reimbursements and finally taking projects off the book that we paid for that are public, but we did not get the financing back. And also, Ms. Russo was instrumental in advancing, reviewing Mr. Reichel's recommendations and getting that paperwork down to the state. So again, I am very happy to be here tonight to say this. I did get one very adamant request, and I discussed it with with Dr. Ryan. We had a request from someone downtown that really felt that the money would be better used for Brady's Dock. And we did consider, Director Cotter, when he was discussing it with Mr. Reichel, we had two projects. One would be the Veterans Stadium Stabilization Project. The other was Brady's Dock. So we did look at it. We do have a cost estimate on it, and we went back to DEP, and DEP said, for various reasons, it would not be a fundable project this year. They felt that this was the project that was ultimately developed was stronger, and unfortunately, I have to deliver that message back to the resident who believes that there was a commitment made somewhere along the line to do Brady's Dock. I agree, we should do something with Brady's Dock, but we were advised you got to go for the stronger of the two projects, and I would also say that we should continue to look at it and see what we can do, because if that is a priority of some of the residents in town, it's definitely going to need work. I mean, we did all that work down on the Kilvin Cull, so it's definitely going to need our work. Whether it's fundable under the DEP program or not, a question for another day. But I did take that into consideration. There were some other comments. There were some people who came last week thinking the public hearing was last week. They seemed very supportive of just the walkways, and there definitely were people. We looked at the same area last year, and we did have several people who actually came out. We did get some responses. This year was lower. We only had 16 responses to the survey, but sometimes that's the timing of when you put it up, and we believe we'll still get more from the end, before the end of it. But again, I don't think anybody can say that Bayonne has not been at the forefront of opening the waterfronts and using every resource, getting contributions from the developers. Developers have some responsibilities out there. We've held them to task. When it couldn't be built, we've asked for contributions in lieu so that money could be spent other places, but always on walkways and opening up areas to the public. And we continue to advance that concept through Director Skillender with the new developments coming up. And I think it was said before, Constable Hook is 20% of the city. So as we advance and embark on that, we may not be able to do things down there because of the contamination, but we will be asking for funding for either our in-town parks or, we're not just ignoring the question. And with that, if anybody has any questions, and also our city planner firm is here, our redevelopment council.
Is there any discussion about some of the parks? They're close to the water, so maybe DEP money could go towards the newer park down the old military base, Mayor Brady, I believe. We named the park after him.
And
we did a dedication, I believe it was 2015 or so, right? I think, Tommy, right around that time? Donovan? Sorry.
Donovan.
I'm sorry, Donovan, Mayor Donovan.
We're looking into also Donovan.
Okay.
This project here, Veterans Stadium, you go down there, every time you don't even need a big storm. Fishing pier always gets, tide comes up over the pier, boards come up.
Right.
Constantly.
I I just meant as a future project to look at that, because now there's a lot of people living down there that could use that space, but not in lieu of this. I
No.
agree with you, this needed to be done.
And I just wanted to acknowledge that, you know, John Wicasala, our redevelopment counsel for all these projects is here. Brian Slough, our planner for all these projects is here. They're here on another subject tonight. But they bring this up every week, you know, what we can do. And I know, John, there is stuff going on down at Mopby that, you know, you've been at the forefront of. I think there's some deals going on down there and some stuff that wasn't done. And I know this park, I don't think I knew it under this name, has been considered. And I believe you also have some projects, Director Cotter, that are coming up on the Hudson County Open Space where that type of thing is being, where we're trying to get the Mopby developers to fund the projects at Mopby. And they do have some obligations to do it. It's just the timing on it. Some of them haven't reached that phase. But that's not, but if you keep a listing, send it to us. I will make sure that everybody knows about it.
Each council person
Yeah.
here has a list, I'm sure.
I'm sure, but
You know, I
again.
know Lloyd has 19th Street and Jackie
Oh,
has a couple, and, you know, so, yeah.
Director
I have Golden Park, obviously, and.
Direct-
and,
Holding out hope for Cottage
they're all
Street.
important.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Cottage
and,
Street and 40th Street, Ziggy Makowitz.
All you have to
that's
do
a
is-
disaster, so.
all you have to do is make sure I know about it, and then I will connect the dots, or I think Director Cotter has another word for it, what I do. You know, follow, you know, I just try to keep anything I hear, I try to bring up, so.
Sure.
As long as I know about it, I will, while I'm here, I will definitely bring it up.
Does anybody have anything they want to come up? Yeah, Mike, you want to come to the mic and speak, please?
Thanks, Mike. Mike.
Mike Rosigno, these projects and everything, Green Acres and the city of Bayonne and Public Works, Carter and everybody, and Sumac and the whole group, it's been amazing to watch this whole operation. And, you know, I'm a member of the Bayonne Nature Club, and we do river cleanups, and we do bird walks all around Bayonne. Twice a week we do the bird walks and the cleanups once a month. And the walkways and the development that the city has been doing has been just terrific. And it's opened it up to the public to get to this water. And I don't think a lot of people realize when you have to rebuild that waterfront walkway, we're across actually the west side of it, one of the largest shipping ports in America. And that causes so much backup on waves and shipping that causes that water coming up and washing away the walkway, washing away Bayonne. So these walls to build them and everything is really, really important to keep Bayonne where it is. And it's also on the east side also. And the work that everybody's been doing has just been terrific. And I've been just, you know, wonderful in that they keep connecting it. And also, and I know in working with Green Acres and everybody involved with DEP, there's also an organization, the American Canoe Association, which I'm a member of, and they've been around since 1880. It's a huge organization, and I have some letters where I wrote to them about getting kayak accessibility on the east side of Bayonne, over by the Mopby where everybody's building, and Sue and everybody's also working. Where the walkway there has just been fabulous. I mean, you can pull over now, you can see the seals, you can see all the birds, the herons, the eagles, and it's just been fascinating. And I got some letters, and I can give it out, but the American Canoe Association will work with you and also with the high schools in water safety and boating and Olympic sporting with kayaks and stuff. And so this is another good group that you can reach out to that's ready to help, and us being surrounded by water would be a great start. And again, thanks to everybody involved with this, with the walkways around Bayonne. Has just been terrific, and thank you so very much.
And Mike,
Thank you, Mike.
I received this letter from the Canoe Society late last week. I'd be happy to forward it to the council.
Yes, definitely,
you'd like to see
definitely.
it.
There's an area down off the walkway where they created for fishing back in, I'm going to say about 2008 or 9. And that area could be used for a canoe launch as well.
Yes, and Mike and Patricia met with me, asked me, you know, drew out some things, and I'm going to pass that along to Mr. Reichel, because again, it's the walkway, the water edge issues.
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
make sure that's done.
Thank you
And
very
thank you
much,
for all
Sue.
your
Thank
help.
you for the
Thank
the
you.
great team effort and the presentation. Madeline,
Okay, so on CR 20,
as a whole?
as a whole, yes. Mr. Booker? Aye. Mr. Carroll? Aye. Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
Okay, R2 is approving the temporary emergency appropriation number 1 in the calendar year 2025 budget.
Move it.
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker? Aye. Mr. Carroll? Aye. Mr. Perez? Aye. Ms. Weimer? Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
R3 is authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement with Nagila Engineering Associates for planning services in connection with developers and redevelopers for a period of 1 year commencing January 1 through December 31st, 2025, for an amount not to exceed $100,000.
Move it.
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
R4 is authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement with Consulting Municipal Engineers, LLC, doing business as CME Associates, for planning services in connection with developers and redevelopers for a period of 1 year commencing January 1st through December 31st, 2025, for an amount not to exceed $100,000.
Move.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
R5 is authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement with Clark Caton and Hint for planning services in connection with developers and redevelopers for a period of 1 year commencing January 1st through December 31st, 2025, for an amount not to exceed $100,000.
Move it.
Second.
On the resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
On behalf of the firm, thank you for the contract.
Authorizing the preparation of a redevelopment agreement by and between the City of Bayonne and Nova Group Urban Renewal LLC for the property located at 474-476 Broadway, which is identified as Block 205, Lot 10.01.
Somebody refresh my memory on what this is, please. Thank you.
This is the old Irwin site on Broadway.
And what's the plan for that site?
So this allows us to negotiate and enter into a redevelopment agreement, allows us to negotiate with the developer. The site's kind of sat vacant, so, we're pulling it, dusting off the plan and, negotiating to see what it works. So right now, we have no concept of it. We're just, going to talk with the developer. We want to get authorization to prepare the redevelopment agreement to then put in front of you.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Sure.
Move it.
Second.
Okay. On R6, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa?
Aye.
R7 is authorizing the preparation of a state affordable housing dispute resolution and declaring the City of Bayonne's fourth round affordable housing obligation.
Move it.
Second.
Will I get a little clarification on that? Yes, please. Yes.
Sure. So just on this, we have our affordable housing attorney, Mr. Wichaskala, and our affordable housing planner, Mr. Slough. So, they can kind of give a quick overview as to the state obligation regarding the city's affordable housing obligation, and kind of a supplement the memo that Brian prepared a couple months ago.
Yeah, hi, everybody. John Wichaskala. Pleasure to be here tonight. I'm here with Brian. I'm actually going to turn it over to Brian shortly, but I'll give a little bit on the legal on this just very quickly. This all started with, its roots start in the New Jersey Fair Housing Act and the Federal Fair Housing Act. We've probably all heard about Mount Laurel. Mount Laurel doctrine goes back to the 1980s. Projects were going on. And through the court system, ultimately, there was a mandate to create the opportunity for the development of low and moderate income housing throughout the state of New Jersey. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of history to it. It is what led to the creation of the Council on Affordable Housing, which was part of the DCA, COA, as we call it. And we still, a lot of people still refer to this as COA housing. We still hear that terminology, although that's an organization within the DCA that has been disbanded, particularly by the most recent legislation. We have been through 3 rounds of COA, so to speak. We are now in the 4th round period. What we have before you tonight is a resolution. It really is a ministerial or an administrative action by this council. It's actually a resolution very similar to one that we presented to you, I'm not sure if it was 3 years ago or so. Through this process, there are a lot of municipalities that DCA came out with a report in October that had projections for prospective need for creation of affordable housing, created numbers that each municipality would have to achieve. A lot of those municipalities are suburban municipalities. They're located west of us, west, north, south, or I'm sorry, yeah, west, thinking where we are. What I can tell you, and if you look through this particular resolution, the memo that Brian put together, City of Bayonne is what we call a qualifying urban aid municipality. We receive funding through the state for various municipal services, et cetera. What does that mean? When it comes to the necessity to create new affordable housing, where we would impose that obligation on developers that are creating new projects, et cetera, we have a prospective need here in the city of 0. We do not have an obligation as an urban aid municipality to create new affordable housing. As we did 3 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever the time was, we had a present need. We now, through the new numbers that DCA put out, we also have a present need. What does that mean? Our number is 749 units. I think that's the number, if I recall correctly. Thank you.
What is a percentage of units? Does that?
There is no percentage of units in this regard. So this is a present need. Maybe I'll ask Brian to speak to it. This is the number that the DCA projected for our present need, which really is a rehab obligation. Same obligation we had a number of years ago.
I was just curious how they got to that number.
Yeah, well, I'll let Brian speak to it a little bit more, but that's actually the number. Why we're here before you tonight, under the statute, which was adopted, legislature adopted changes in March of 2024, and they set forth a pretty rigorous schedule for municipalities, for the DCA to act, and for municipalities to respond. And the timeframes are tight. DCA numbers came out in October, and the municipalities have until this month to either accept that number or to respond with a resolution. We disagree with your number. We think you're imposing too many prospective units on us, or whatever the case may be. And then it's going to go through the court system the same way it did through the 3rd round process. If you don't take these actions, what's the ramification? It does impact a municipality's immunity from builder's remedy lawsuits, or a builder can come in and say, well, this municipality hasn't met its obligation. We have property. We can satisfy that. Is the city of Bayonne really in risk? I can tell you, not really. Again, because we don't have a prospective need in this regard. We do collect non-residential fees through the statewide Non-Residential Fee Act. We have an affordable housing trust fund that's set up. So those are monies that are available for the city if it's, to assist with rehabilitation. And it's not to say that those monies can't go towards, we've contributed monies from those funds towards various special needs housing projects that comply, that do in fact actually create new units. I mean, that's been the history on it. But again, what's the action we're taking here? We're really just acknowledging and following the statute. We're not disputing the fact that the DCA has determined we don't have a prospective need of 0 units to create. And we're just really accepting the fact they came up with a number on the rehabilitation share, which is our present need, and that's the action.
So this will still give us the ability to, if we wanted to, contest the amount, the number?
Well, no, I think through this resolution, when
We're agreeing to.
we're agreeing to the number, we're agreeing to the process. There's funding that's available. We can impose obligations to address the rehabilitation share, and it can be through any number of means. It could be, rehabilitation of senior housing or whatever the case may be.
Brian, do you have numbers, like what do you think the
Maybe I
approximate
can,
value?
maybe I can talk about this a little bit more. So I did send out a memo early part of December. Hopefully you had a chance to take a look at that. So there are these 2 legs in the municipal affordable housing obligation, the present need or rehabilitation share. And it's a set of complicated formulas. And so this time, instead of an agency of the state telling you, this is your number, the legislation said, these are advisory. If you want to do your own numbers, you can do your own numbers. And in fact, our firm did its own entire model for all our clients in the state to give our clients a counterpoint where they could compare ours versus what DCA came up with. And we had no sense that DCA might actually meet the deadline, frankly, and the law didn't give you any leeway in case DCA missed its deadline. You had to declare a number. Of course, we would want everybody to have a rational basis for that. So we spent the summer building this model. 40 spreadsheets, GIS data looking at 5 million parcels in the state, hand checking visually 15,000 vacant parcels to make sure they were really vacant. Anyway, big effort on our part. But the point is, when we went through the process, our present need number was a little higher for Bayonne. So our recommendation is accept the DCA numbers. They did meet the deadline. We had discussions with the people who put it together. We read through their workbook about how they did it. It's a credible approach. We think ours is a little bit more precise, but it just shows that there's more than one way to build a model. Because the legislation said use these different means of finding it, which are not necessarily compatible with each other. And so there are these stringent deadlines. Once this action is taken, then John's got to file a declaratory judgment action in Superior Court within 48 hours, and Madeline's got to put on the website the resolution that this council adopts. The deadline's January 31st. So unless you want to do a special meeting, we recommend you pass it tonight, because it's
But again, do
onerous.
you have a roundabout cost for this? Like, I know it's gonna come out of the affordable.
Yeah, so
Housing
the
Trust.
Affordable Housing Trust Fund has a lot of money in it, generally speaking, about $14 million, I think Mr. Skillinger said this evening. And so there are several means to meet that. So one of the things we've done is we've entered into a dialogue with the Bayonne Family Community Center to provide rehabilitation money for that, SRO, which would go towards it. You have to spend at least $10,000, but that's such a low number with today's construction costs. But that would provide credits for 105 units. The other thing you can do is you can actually have new affordable housing units count towards your rehabilitation number. And we did that with the last housing plan, which was some rehabilitation units that Department of Community Development did. There were, I think, a handful from Hudson County that we included in the plan, and there were a lot of units that the Housing Authority had done. So we cobbled together a number of things. And then there was like maybe 40 or 45 that the city itself needed to continue with working on trying to do and engage homeowners to get their houses rehabilitated. So it was a set of things that we could already count as credit, and then a program to do that rehabilitation work. It might be, I would say, probably this time, we'll have to have some rehabilitation program operated by the city or a third party on behalf of the city to engage that. I would say just in Hudson County. So I do affordable housing work for Sea Caucus as well. They've run an operation like this for some time. I would say their average cost runs maybe $35,000. So for, yeah, about 35. So say 3 for every 100,000. So that's 30 for every million. So there are means to develop a program to meet your obligation. And the city will have a dialogue as well with the Housing Authority because they also have capital improvement program to improve their units.
Would you mind, I just have a few questions with respect to the numbers and what counts as far as meeting our requirement. So if 749 is our number, and I just want to make sure I understand and put it in as plain terms as I can what you just described.
Yes.
For the sake of generality, if 500 new constructed units were made tomorrow, then the rehab requirement would be down to 249.
You would have 500 credits towards that number.
And
I didn't mention the time frame. It's a 10-year time frame, starting in the middle of this year.
you also mentioned the $10,000 figure for rehab, stating that that's fairly low. If we considered it to be $15,000, then to do 749 rehabs would come out to roughly $11,200,000, thus significantly depleting that Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Yes,
Is-
but of
okay.
course, you would be presumably, more money would be coming into the trust fund in this 10 years after it, so. there
By
would be
which
additional
means?
money.
So you're still, the monies that are in the trust fund are the monies that are coming in, by and large, from collection on non-residential projects. So we have a statewide non-residential fee that is charged, and, back in the old days, they used to actually charge commercial developers with growth share, and actually impose obligations for them to create residential developments, which didn't work. That's why they created the statewide fee act. But just mind you, those are not monies, and sometimes people get tripped up and think, well, hey, this is city money, it's here in the coffers. It's an affordable housing trust fund. So those monies that get collected from the commercial projects are there. The fund is actually there to be depleted for these purposes. And as you still, unless there's another moratorium or the statewide fee goes away, we're gonna keep on collecting those monies. And to be honest with you,
Well, the
we do want, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We actually do want to be in a position where we use those monies. And I don't know, you may recall, we had a governor a number of years ago who came in and threatened actually to take the monies from all the towns and bring them into the state's general coffers because they weren't using those funds that were deposited into affordable housing trust funds to create those opportunities, whether it was from rehabilitation projects or creation of special needs housing or veterans housing.
Here's why I asked, John, for several reasons. One, I have concerns about the replenishment of those funds as we go forward with as many residential structures that are being passed with some frequency here as opposed to commercial structures. Also, If that fund is available for rehab, which should be done anyway with the units that currently exist, aren't there means by which we can meet our requirement at no cost to either that fund or the city by simply changing our policy and making changes to our redevelopment plans and making requirements for certain affordable and workforce housing?
Yeah, you're the legislature.
Was the
You
answer
can-
yes? Or
You
is
can,
the
you are
answer-
the legislature. You can make those policy decisions and so forth. There's nothing
And
that
should we
stops
make
it.
those decisions, would that count towards this number?
I mean, let me say that if there's new affordable housing, it would have to be the COA housing. It would have to be available to people making 80% of the median or less. If you looked at my definition of workforce housing, if it was people making between 80 and 120%, you couldn't use the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for that housing. But as you would indicate, and it would not count towards the 749. If you wanted to do something above that, then it's a policy decision. But yes, if there were an inclusionary component that was part of redevelopment plans, that would be a means whereby, as projects are built in Bayonne, that a certain percentage of residential units would be earmarked as either COA housing or COA housing plus workforce housing. And
Again,
what
which
that- what
would
that
free up
percentage-
the remaining money in that trust fund to do these rehabs.
Other things.
Other things.
Yeah.
So basically, because what's going to be said here is, this is a quality of life issue, which it absolutely is, to do these rehabs, but it can be done while also tackling the much larger issue. So we can have two bites of this apple as opposed to depleting all the funds in that Affordable Housing Trust Fund. With a simple wave of the pen and a change of a policy, we can cut into this number while also doing repairs elsewhere.
That's your choice, yeah. So what I would say is, so the money in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, just to tell you how this process works, one of the documents we'll be putting together is what's called a spending plan that projects revenues that we could anticipate coming into the fund during the period of time in the next 10 years. We would have a starting point, and then we would show how that money is intended to be spent. And it would be spending the whole thing. So it does show how that would do, how we would expect to spend it. And usually there's a fair amount of guesswork in it, and oftentimes the spending plans get amended because new projects show up that you weren't expecting. So it's not uncommon that the spending plans need to get amended over time. So that's part of the process too. It's almost like a budgeting projection for funding the housing plan.
Right, and we know several projects that are coming online that have not paid into that fund, that are going to pay into that fund, and you have 10 years to do the rehab. So that could be done over time, and what you were saying is the fund is getting replenished at the same time you're spending, but you're taking in new funds. So it's possible that we could spend some money on new apartments, new housing, and a combination of rehab at the same time. And that's what you asked, right? So.
No, I want to clarify what you just said. We can do exactly that, but by changing our policy and requiring workforce elements, we don't have to spend any money. That would be incumbent on the
We
developers.
all know up here what you want,
Oh,
because
okay.
you've beaten the dead horse
Well,
enough. I don't think I'm the
horse
only
isn't
one
dead yet, it's
who
dying,
feels
but,
that way. But you have not actually sat down with me, like I said to you. The very
That's-
next week.
That's inaccurate.
The very
And-
next week.
Wait,
I have a
Ryan, hold on one
question.
second, because I would say this as well.
So-
There's been
so-
talk of research and numbers and this and that, and as a teacher, if you don't show your work, it's a failure.
So
Okay,
you're
it doesn't
talking about-
matter.
I
Well, I'm
never-
just saying,
I
I've
never
presented
promised you
this body,
research.
I've presented this body several outlines of things that could be done, and I've received none in return. There's been talk that, well, we're going to come up with our own plan. It hasn't happened. Well, let's turn this into a study. Haven't gotten the study back on rent control. So I've met my obligation. I've certainly come forward with plans, ideas, and things that we could do to improve the lives of the people, some of whom came tonight. So I'm available. Let's not say that I didn't do my part. I'm waiting for everybody else's research to show up.
What you did was you came and you surprised us all with something that you wanted to add a study on. That's what you did.
One issue.
That was, okay, that was one issue that you did do, that we didn't want to go out on a limb without seeing it in advance. And the same thing with your plan. There were holes in your plan. As a matter of fact.
We've had 18 months to fill the holes.
Mr. Skillender was supposed to come back with the report, right?
Yes.
And talk about the holes that were in your plan.
Where is it?
So, but again, on this, for working on getting, for the resolution in front of you, just to kind of refocus the conversation onto what's being voted on tonight. Tonight is very simple it's a resolution affirming what our round 4 obligations are. So we can make a motion to the court for a declaratory judgment accepting the DCA's findings. I just want to, kind of recenter the conversation here for it. This is only for low and moderate income housing. This is not workforce housing.
Right.
As Brian has stated, this is from 80% of AMI, which in the Jersey City metropolitan area is the area median income, as was provided, is $100,000. For a family of 4, that is $107,000. So that is the middle ground right here. So it's 80% of that. And again, you were provided with the scale of what the area median income is. So this is, again, this resolution is very simple of, do we accept our obligation of 749 units to rehab over the next 10 years? From there, as provided in that memo, there are going to be several other deadlines that we have to meet, but this is the first step of a 6-7 month process. Just for us to get all our paperwork in order, for them to actually, for the city to implement its spending plan, on how we actually, rehab these units, build new units, however we achieve this objective. I just want to make sure that we refocus, the conversation on this.
And so my follow-up question to all of that, to anybody who can answer it for me, please, gentlemen. Out of those 749 units, we are required to rehab them, which would be, is it fair to say that we could all be in agreement that that would be a benefit to our existing Bayonne residents? Is that fair?
It would certainly be.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Now, if we were to add additional units, rather than rehab the existing units, or if we were to require our developers to allocate a portion of their units, and they do qualify, they would give us our credit, so we would have less rehabbing to our existing Bayonne residents, and we would add additional units. How many of those units are we permitted to dedicate solely to Bayonne residents?
You're not permitted to do that.
We're not permitted to do
You
that.
would
So
have-
thereby, I have no guarantee that I would benefit anyone living in my city.
That's correct. It's
Thank you,
because that's how the rules work. You can limit it to your region, but that's a 4-county area.
So in other words, if the mayor of New York City or the governor of New York City, of New York, decides to send all these individuals that were buzzed in from Texas and Florida over here to Bayonne, they're also available for the housing?
They wouldn't be because they wouldn't be residents of New Jersey.
But it is an area that is designated within a 4-county radius. So the mandate of additional units or the trade-off of, rather than rehabbing our existing units where we have current Bayonne residents living in them, would mean that we would open up the availability to anyone that would qualify within that 4-county radius. So we would forego and forsake our own current residents to be able to check a box on a piece of paper that says somebody spearheaded the initiative to allow for additional affordable housing.
May I say that from a practical standpoint, when that is done, it does tend to attract people that live in the place where they are, but it can't be mandated.
Right,
Just
can't be
simply-
mandated, nor can it be guaranteed.
That's correct.
Right, so it's.
You're-
Would
so
be
it's a-
sought by the
it's a-
people who need it and
it's a
are
dice.
available close to it.
It's a dice, it's rolling the dice.
It's a list. There's a list, and they qualify, and they're picked off the list.
And it is stratified in the sense that it's somewhat complicated. Effectively, there's, so when new construction's done, there's you have to have 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units, and you can only have so many, you have to have mandated so many 3-bedrooms, and no more than so many 1-bedroom or efficiencies, and then the rest can be 2 bedrooms typically. And so and then you have to have a family size that fits within those bedrooms. Right. And so, yeah. And so, and then it's stratified by income as well. So you get this kind of matrix. There's lottery done, and then whoever family fits the unit that's available gets slotted into there that's ranked the highest. So that's how that works.
And Councilman Booker here, I just wanted, the professionals say, I want to thank you for that clarification. And Director, the reason why I posed the question is because I just wanted to reintroduce myself and be aware of the fact that I'm making a vote on a very, very, very sensitive and serious topic, and that's why I just want to say thank you for that clarification.
So the vote is for rehabbing 749 units.
Yes, that's correct. And a zero new build obligation.
Which again is that's the recommendation through the DCA.
Okay. Sue, you want to add something? Sure.
To me, it sounds like a big number. You know, it's a big number. I just wanted to point out, so COA changed their rules in 2015. We had to go to Superior Court. We had to present a plan to the Superior Court. Mr. Wacasalo's firm was the one that went to court. Successfully, Mr. Slough's firm created that document. At that point, I just wanted to tell you this one thing. We had 648 the last 10 years, and we met it. So we were able to do that by taking credit for the work we had done and continuing the work that we have done. So I don't want, my only point for clarification is that we're only going up really a smidgen from where we were. We were able to do it. And the beauty of what's happening, and Director Skillender pointed this out, but we need to go through it a little bit more later. All of this, they've laid out strict things that have to happen in the next 6 months. And a lot of that goes right back to you. They have to create a new plan. That plan has to go to the planning board. There have to be meetings with the council. They specifically outline that in it. So I see this tonight. You never say no, because then we're in good shape because we comply and we work with the program very successfully. But, so I'm with Director Skillender. The matter at hand is just to adopt it, take care of what you have to do, let them go back to court. But please take this as an opportunity for this council to develop the policies and programs that are going to guide us for the next 10 years. And Director Skillender is going to be here to make sure that happens.
Thank you.
I'm your affordable housing monitor, so I just want to say.
Okay, thank you, Sue.
So Council President, just want to address the legislative body here from a policy perspective on this for two things, kind of from some of the open conversations that we've had on what should be in the redevelopment plans. Currently, if it's been a policy with the city of Bayonne to not have 3-bedroom units within redevelopment plans. Again, we can only put them at 2. We want to make sure that as people, move in, renting, that 3rd-bedroom apartment kind of, again, tends to create families, creates kids, living in the apartments. We want people to buy the houses here in Bayonne. That was kind of the plan that, was implemented. And I think the city's been very successful with that. And you can kind of see just along the rents going up, housing stock going up, being desirable, people wanting to live here in Bayonne. The other thing, too, is also from another policy perspective that is up to the council's, wisdom as a legislative body on some of the other, programs too, on what you want to see, money being spent on within the redevelopment, plan and agreement. If you want park improvements, if you want infrastructure, stormwater, those are all things that, again, a redevelopment plan considers along with the affordable housing, component of it. From a policy perspective, it's generally in the past that we've met that obligation. We found other sources to fund that, and that's why, the current status of it is as such. If it's up to the council's wisdom, if that policy wants to change, that's up, for consideration, but I just want to bring that, to attention.
All right, can we get back to the resolution then?
So you ready to vote?
Yes.
So on R7, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
I vote aye. While I'd like to see a requirement for new or for some element of new housing, I'm very happy to see a rehabilitation requirement. This is important. It's not just a social issue that we're facing here. Also, there were some things said about, as pandering only to voters, because if they're not going to get the apartments, then it's not worth doing, is insanity. Also, when it comes to rehabilitation, there are things we can do to rehab all that needs to be rehabbed while also providing new opportunities for people in our region, as opposed to our city, but in our region, which, as the professional stated, tends to skew towards the people living in the city in which it is placed. So this is important. I'm proud to attach my name to it, but enough isn't a good word for us to adopt. We should be always acting and doing more.
Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
So Neil, just so you know, we're in agreement that we want the rehab and we want new units. That's what I want as well. Okay, whether you called it affordable, workforce, whatever, I'm in agreement with you. So we will find a way to get this done, because I'll make sure of it. It's just like you will. Okay? On that, this is very, very important to rehab those apartments that haven't been done in a while. There's definitely a need out there, and I'll vote aye.
R8 is directing the Director of Planning, Zoning, and Development and other city administrators to implement the traffic controls on the Mott B area. It's moved by the council as a whole. Any questions on R8? Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez. Aye. Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
And just so everybody knows, there's some changes coming down the Mott-B with the traffic department. We had some people here last month, I believe it was, that talked to us about the problems down there, which we were aware. I was working on this already, but I had several meetings with the Director of Planning and Zoning and the Traffic Lieutenant as well, and you'll see some things implemented in there very, very soon. So it's going to make a major difference. And then a few months down the road, there'll be a few other changes that unfortunately we have to go through channels to get approvals. So with that, I vote aye.
Okay, R9 has been removed. R10 is authorizing the purchasing agent to procure Gentech AC systems upgrades for the municipal building located 630 Avenue C from She International Corp. Pursuant to the quote 255-93738 dated December 2nd, 2024, for the amount of $134,063.06.
Move it.
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R11 is for the Gentech security card access system and installation of the same for the police training facility and gun range from She International Corp. Pursuant to quotation 256-04539 dated December 4th, 2024, for the amount of $58,126.66.
Move it.
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R12 authorizes the purchasing agent to execute any and all documents and take any and all actions necessary to effectuate the procurement and installation of a Caterpillar emergency generator for use at the Bayonne City Hall and the police triple redundancy emergency standby power system from Foley Power Systems for an amount of $341,415.
Move.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R13 is awarding a contract to Triad Advisory Associates for professional consulting services related to the planning and facilitating of the planning and composing of the final five-year plan for the Bayonne Urban Enterprise Zone for an amount not to exceed $58,625.
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R14 authorizes the mayor and city clerk to execute and exercise the one-year option with Millennium Strategies for grant writing and management consulting services for a period of 1 year commencing January 1st through December 31st, 2025, for an amount of $72,000.
Move it.
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R15 authorizes the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement with Matrix New World Engineering, Remington Vernick Engineers, and Montrose Environmental as a pool of general environmental consultants and LSRP services providers for a period of 1 year commencing January 1st through December 31st, 2025.
So move.
Second.
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. We're on R15.
I apologize. No, I'm familiar. Thank you, Madeline. I'm sorry. Aye.
And Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R16 is a resolution qualifying all the firms that submitted in connection with the city's RFPs and RFQs for the professional engineering services on call to Remington Vernick Engineers, Matrix New World, Arcades, Waterman LLC, T&M Associates, and CM Associates for a period of 1 year commencing January 1st.
Move it.
Second.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez. Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
R17 is actually awarding the contracts for the emergency generator, West 63rd Street Pump Station, to Fargon Electric for the contract amount of $480,000.
Move.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And I do have two additional items that are not on the agenda. The first one is a resolution approving and authorizing the settlement of litigation related to the countywide equalized assessment valuation.
Okay, and I'll explain that quickly. Jersey City submitted their books to the county, and a bunch of municipalities, here, Bayonne being one of them, noticed that four pieces of property weren't included as part of their ratables, and that would have changed their equalization ratio from 91% to 79% to 91%, which takes money out of the other 12 municipalities' pockets. So Sea Caucus was the lead council. Every other town in Hudson County joined in, and we ended up having several, and David Rashevsky handled it for the city, had several conference calls with the judge, with experts and everything, and finally, as of yesterday, we all came to an agreement, and the net effect of it is that we're going to go back to a 12% difference. They've given up on 2 of the parcels, are going to be eliminated. So we ended up doing very well in this lawsuit, and Jersey City now has to put more monies back into the other towns' coffers. So the judge wanted this approved by all the municipalities by today. We're the last ones meeting. So every other municipality has signed off on this, and the state signed off on it.
Who would like to move it?
Move it.
On that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer. Aye. Mr. La Palusa.
Aye. I asked Donna Maurer to explain add 2 for us, since it has a decent amount of money involved in it. And from now on, again, the policy is, if there's an add-on that has money to be spent, we need the director to explain it, or else we're going to hold off till the next month. Thank you, Donna.
Okay, but the reason, I apologize for this, when I held that pink sheet, the director was out sick. Well, not the director, Anthony from IT was out sick, had the flu, I couldn't contact him, I had questions, so I held it. But this is for a new server at City Hall. It's also updates that are required for cybersecurity compliance, the licenses that go along with it, new computers so we can be compatible with Windows 11. And we have to do this tonight because this price is only good until the 24th. So that's why I need to get it on tonight's meeting. Otherwise, the price will go up.
Has this started already? Because it says January 3rd in here.
No,
Okay,
no, can't start until you approve it.
okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, so it would be with She International Corp. For the bid amount, for the contract amount of $136,121.73.
Okay, and there's no maintenance component to this or anything? Okay.
Would like to move it?
Second.
And on that resolution, Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Aye.
And with nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And on the motion to adjourn, Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Carroll. Aye. Mr. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Weimer.
Aye.
Mr. La Palusa.
Have a good evening, everybody. Aye.